Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 289th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings, and joining me this evening we have Ozzy Smith, Andy Patterson, and a glorious return for Adam Smido Smith as well. Not a lot to talk about, but we always manage to find something. Sean Porter, Danny Garcia is coming up next week, so we'll have a chat about that. Maybe a bit of heavyweights, maybe a bit of Golovkin, who knows? It's going to be quite an eclectic show. We did start off with about 3 guests this morning, but we're down to 1 as of now. Hopefully we can reschedule the other 2 pro boxers on again at some point in the near future. Andy, we were talking 50-0 there. We'll come to that shortly. Let's start off in South Africa from what there was over the weekend. I watched this fight this morning. I don't know if you watched it live or not, but Tabiso Mchunu lost his African Boxing Union cruiserweight title against Thomas Oosthuizen. Scores of 115, 113 times 2 and a 114, 114 drawn card. Quite a big height discrepancy, as there always is when Mchunu's in the ring. Talented guy. I think he's only about 5'7", which is ridiculous for a cruiserweight. He's definitely got skills. Whether he can't get down to light heavyweight, super middleweight or beyond is maybe the issue. But he did okay. Oosthuizen, though, used his height and reach advantages and got the win. Any idea where these two are going to go next? They're talking about Oosthuizen fighting Kevin Lerena, who's the IBO champion. Obviously, the IBO is quite esteemed over in South Africa.
Yeah, it's a probably natural fight actually to be made, especially if, I had maybe expected maybe, I don't know if Kevin Lorena's been in the WBS second series, I'm not too sure yet, I don't think he has. So it is a probably natural fight to make. Oosthuizen though, even up at cruiserweight that he doesn't look in good shape at all whatsoever. Clearly his activities outside the ring and that have, really hampered his career. Mchunu, I kind of felt, probably fought to Oosthuizen's strengths here, because Oosthuizen stepped on the outside, kept his jab, longer reach, as you say. But if you watch Mchunu when he was undefeated, especially when he fought like Eddie Chambers and that, he invited pressure. He went to the ropes and then countered, and he was really good at doing that. Last night, it looked like he was kind of like trying to force the fight at times. He done well at times and that, but I just thought he kind of like probably fought into Oosthuizen's strengths, and in the end, although I wasn't scoring it, it was a kind of close-ish fight, but. As for Mchunu, I dare say he'll get another chance around about that level on that. He's a decent enough career. But at the same time, he just seems to be whenever he kind of like steps up again, he loses. Like Usyk, for example. I know Johnny Miller's a local rival, but that Konstantin Benjanier, the Romanian cruiserweight, that guy's not really all that active. Okay, he's a good amateur, but he lose to that guy and get dropped as well. I think it probably just says that maybe Mchunu just does enough to make someone work for the win. He just isn't good enough to basically get it over the level and maybe kind of get in a world title fight or challenge or win a world title, shall we say? Because obviously the Usyk fight was a world title fight, but I just think he's going to do enough to lose, and a lot of promoters will probably look at him to basically kind of carry their fighters rounds and give them rounds, and tough enough to do so. But as for Oosthuizen, anybody up at I would expect Kevin Lerena to beat him, probably beat him on points. But anything above that level, Oosthuizen's getting evaporated.
Yeah, no sign of Kevin Lerena in the World Boxing Super Series second instalment of the cruiserweight. He did get in the ring afterwards, though, and said he wanted to fight Oosthuizen. It's a natural fit, really, for South African boxing. I expect Lerena to beat him if he's got anything about him, which he seems to have. As for Mchunu, where he'll disappear off to, I don't know. Maybe the same place as Rhino Liebenberg, who was on the undercard. He's got 6 losses on his record now, Liebenberg. I can remember him going in as an undefeated fighter against Eleider Alvarez. He must have picked up those losses fairly rapidly, but he did win the vacant African Boxing Union super middleweight title last night against Alfonso Tisson, who wasn't too great. Also, shout out to Jade Karam, who has been seen fighting over on these shores quite a bit. He lost to Cohen Ray. If you saw that, Ozzy, feel free to comment. If not, a quick word actually on a show over in Villa Park last night. I'm sure you didn't see any of the action. I'm sure it wasn't televised. But hot off the back of Christian Late hitting a milestone, journeyman Kevin McCauley had his 200th pro contest against Nathan Benden. That was on last night in Villa Park. Quick word for McCauley and all the journeymen out there, Ozzy.
Yeah, well, we had a couple of weeks ago now, wasn't it? We had Lee Connolly on, and I was quite open about saying that while boxing is all about the bright lights and the big nights, on Sky and BT, and you see all these 25,000, 30,000 people watching the events. Without these journeymen, cards would either collapse or your young prospects simply wouldn't get the rounds in and wouldn't be able to develop. Now, I mean, it's all right bringing over these foreign guys, but we've seen all too often some of them take a shot and they go down and they think they've just come for the payday, haven't they? Or they don't really do anything, they just cover up. Whereas lads like Connolly, they may not know they're going to win, but they give it their all. Kevin McCauley is another. He's a stalwart of the game now, isn't he? I mean, whilst, like I said, he's there now. I mean, I watched him against Jack Catterall a couple at the start of the year, and it was just a gross mismatch. But he got the call. I think it was on Friday night to box him on Saturday, and it's again without those guys that if he hadn't have stepped in, I mean, Jack gained nothing from it apart from literally a walk to the ring and a few seconds and stuff like that in the ring. The fight wouldn't have gone ahead. So I think you've got to give a lot of props to these to the journeymen. Whilst the records on paper, like they may seem embarrassing of sorts, or even people will look at them and just think, "Oh, what's the point?" They're skilled in what they do. They've got to cover up. They know what to do. And I think it's fair to say that some of the records that they should have more wins than they've actually got. I've seen some horrible robberies before where the journeyman has won, but because they're the away fighter, they'll lose by a point or they'll get a draw. And quite often, I think you'll hear journeymen say, if I can get a draw, then that's a win for me, particularly on the road. So, no, Kevin McCauley, will he keep going? I don't know. It was a bit of a shock to see Chris Lake retire, but fingers crossed he does keep going. And I've no doubt there's a long crop of journeymen coming through that will aspire to what these guys have done as well.
We'll be hitting up Ozzy or Smido or both for a bit of a betting tip later on. Smido, I know you're in rant mode. Before we come to you on whatever it is you want to rant about this week, Andy, as I mentioned there, Mr. Triathlon Moonsry or whatever he goes by, whichever name. I know they have sponsorship names, don't they? He's Wanheng Menayothin, the same sort of sponsorship names that bought us the likes of Fasan 3K battery in the past. Mr. Menayothin, obviously we're mentioning him because he went to 51-0, TBE, 18 knockouts. He's been a world champion since 2014. We were talking about this off air, actually, Andy, about where his place is, where his legacy is. Obviously, people not compare him to the likes of Floyd, but it's a milestone. You start talking about people like Floyd, about people like Rocky Marciano. You had the Argentine Cuenca, didn't you? Him with about 2 knockouts, who was going for like 50-0 recently. I say he's been a world champion since 2014. There's a lot of fill bouts, a lot of sort of debutants and people with losses being brought in to pump up the record. Realistically speaking, how good is this guy and whereabouts, do we put him legacy-wise the minimum weight champion?
Legacy-wise, really, to be mentioned in the same kind of breath, like say Ricardo Lopez's, for example, I think he really needs to get the unification fights. Obviously, I think the Japanese guy that he defeated that's on his record, I think his name's something like Tatsui Fukuhara. He's got a loss to Yamanaka, who fought Wang Heng after that fight. He recently retired with a brain bleed. So, to be honest, his recent opposition's been pretty decent. Melvin Jerusalem's been mixing about there as well. So I would say, although maybe the opponents haven't been strong as such, he has fought some decent or a couple of good decent fighters. It's his 10th defence. Where he stands, in the grand scheme of things, as like a legend, all-time great, and that obviously it's never going to happen. They haven't got the exposure, haven't got the opponents, haven't got the big names down there. But at the same time, people laud, like for example, Joe Lewis's reign. I'm not comparing the two fighters, but let's just kind of put a bit of perspective here. Joe Lewis would fight guys who were called Bum of the Month Club and stuff like that. Nobody could live up to that guy. So what I'm kind of saying is, regardless of the era that he's fighting in, it's an achievement to go 51-0 as a pro fighter, and 10 successful defences. So it's not all great. As you say, there's debutantes in there, but there is like some opponents that did fight, get into fights that who winning records. Sometimes that doesn't happen in Eddie Hearn shows and that, for example. So. I say it's not like an over great achievement, but I just think it's to be respected. To go 51-0 in any type of sport and to be a world champion in doing so. But it's a division that has been begging for for some unification fights, and there is a countryman there who I think is a WBA champ that fight potentially could be classed as unification. So I just don't know why these guys can't get these fights made.
Yeah, I'm a casual when it comes to these type of weights, Andy. I did hear from somebody who's more in the know than me, that they thought that Melvin Jerusalem might have actually beaten him. But yeah, you've got the WBO champion, who's Vic Saladar. IBF title is vacant according to Fight News, and then the WBA champion you mentioned there is Thamanoon Neomtrong. So whether he'll get it on with them, I don't know. But he could do with a unification maybe on his ledger to sort of add that, a bit of capability and that bit of sheen on the record, really.
Definitely, and the other thing as well is I was just watching, as I said to you a couple of weeks back, and that I've been kind of like looking through some divisions, looking at some contenders and that, and I did come across the number one contender for the IBF, that Mark Barriaga. He's Filipino, I think. Class is the kind of mini Mayweather, but I'll tell you what, by the way, it must be like the kind of Tesco version of Floyd Mayweather, because he's absolutely appalling to watch, constantly on the back foot and that. But yep, again, if I look through that list of fighters and stuff, like you say, the Melvin Jerusalem fight was close. He could have lost that easily. Looking at names at that weight, there is a number of fighters who've been there, for years. Gagan Lopez, for example, I think he's got a number of defeats in his record. Byron Rojas, fighters like that, that ilk and that. But it's just, it's a division that's constantly on its cycle, and that, as you say, 3, 4, 5 years at the top is like a lifetime for the guys. So at some point, I would imagine, unless he's going to be like mismatched or whatever, I think Wang Heng is going to be here to stay for a while.
Thanks, Andy. Shout out to everybody in the chat, all about one of you at the moment. Smido, I don't know if you're a connoisseur of the British soap operas, but Shutdown Benson on Twitter has alerted me that 2 actors from Emmerdale Farm, apparently, Adam and Mike, have started up a new boxing and UFC podcast. In case you're considered listening, Smido, I've got a clip for you. Here's a little sample clip from a discussion these boxing knowledge heads were having on Floyd Mayweather's fight with Conor McGregor, and where Conor's performance ranks in comparison to previous Mayweather opponents, guys like Ricky Hatton. So brace yourself for this, Smido. I think you're casual. Yeah. Let's have a listen.
And so he went longer than Ricky Hatton went with.
Yeah, he put up a better fight than most people that fight.
Victor Ortiz didn't go that far with him.
Yeah, and people and the boxing community are like, oh well, Floyd was just toying with him. Mate, what do you think this is? Do you think fighting's a game? When you get in there, it's not a game, guys. You're not it's serious shit. It's not.
Do you think if you were Ricky Hatton, would you be embarrassed by Conor taking Mayweather as far as he did when he was much older than he was? He's like 10 years older than he was when he fought.
Maybe not embarrassed, but I would look deep within myself and realize that, if I was Ricky Hatton, I assume he thought he was really good, but he'd have to look deep within his heart and realize he wasn't. But this is a big problem with humans in general. They stop believing there's more. Whereas I don't think Conor has that issue. There's always more. There's always you're never good enough, I think.
Yeah.
And the minute you start, so someone who has that mentality will look at Conor's performance and say, yeah, sweet. But someone who doesn't have that mentality would, I think, feel embarrassed, because they'd be like, bro, I'm just shit then, aren't I? Or even worse than that, not believe their shit. That's the point. Like, you've got to have a white belt mentality. You've got to realise that.
What? Do you think, Andy, that Ricky Hatton would think Conor McGregor went longer with Floyd than I did? If he even did, I can't remember. And maybe I'm just not that good.
Can I just say something, by the way? There's a reason Floyd Mayweather came back after 2 years of retirement, right? No having a tune-up fight and fighting Conor McGregor right off the bat, right? No, I'll tell you one thing. I've actually listened to Chael Sorensen's podcast. I don't know if he's trolling here, by the way, but apparently he sat next to Terry Atlas during that fight. And apparently they gave Conor McGregor at least 5 or 6 rounds in that fight. I don't know what they were watching like, but there's no fucking way McGregor won 6 rounds. There's just no true.
Well, Smido, they think we're bad for calling out the casuals, but that deserves to be called out, doesn't it? Though.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of them whereby, because they've obviously been on telly and in the public eye, that they can speak quite positively, and people of their kind of audience, I'm guessing, will possibly believe it. I don't know. Steve said someone from Emmerdale.
Yeah, a guy sent it in on Twitter. Apparently, they've started up a new podcast. It's On Air with Adam and Mike, or On Air with Mike and Adam. I think they're from Emmerdale Farm podcast. The one that's on, is it ITV? I don't even know. But apparently, they're big boxing UFC fans. So they've started up their own podcast.
Well, I mean, the less said about them, the better.
Okay, Smid, you don't want to talk about them, but what do you want to talk about? Come on, let it all out.
Well, I'm casual as fuck, as you know. I've alluded to it a few times that I'm pretty much being priced out of the game. Not that I can't afford 11 pay-per-views a year, but that I will just refuse to pay for it. And the fact is, the big fact provided by fan of the podcast Dale Nichols, Eddie Hearn has not promoted a world title fight on regular Sky this year in the UK. He's not promoted a single world title fight for a male boxer on Sky TV this year. So, what are you getting for your subscription fee? It used to be the stars were on pay-per-view, the likes of Froch. Then we moved on to, as I always used to say, AJ, and then everyone else is in a separate pool. And then we moved on to any world title, the likes of Kell Brook, and that kind of level. Now we've moved on to any rivalry or pantomime, the likes of Bellew and Hay twice, the likes of Dillian White, who's headlined a pay-per-view that's not in a world title fight. So yeah, anything above distinctly average is now going to cost you £20 on top of the whatever it is you pay for your sports subscription, 30 or 40 quid alone just for sports. So I'm not paying it, and I'm not big on technology like you guys. I can't really be asked to be trying to get streams left, right and centre that might cut out. So I'm just not watching it. Frank's doing similar with BT. And I've got a conundrum coming up really, because Golovkin and Canelo is obviously one of the biggest fights of the year. I've always been a Golovkin fan. I like Canelo quite a lot as well, but I've got a decision to make whether I buy that. How much is that going to be on BT, Steve? Do we know?
I'm not sure, Smido, to be honest. I mean, I'm assuming it'll be in and around the £15 mark. If anybody in the chat or on Twitter knows, then let me know and I'll pass you the information on Smid. I mean, I would imagine £10 to £15. I don't know, though.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's one of them. But yeah, so I mean, we used to get the likes of having Jamie McDonnell, Ricky Burns, Crawler, Kell Brook back. I think he's had a couple of proper world title fights on Sky, but we're not even getting them anymore. And then also the guys on the undercard of pay-per-views, the likes of, that are growing, I don't know, Buatsi, for example. They're appearing on undercards when there's not that many people in the arena and there's not that many people watching at home in pay-per-view circumstances. So how are they getting built? Because I mean, you would probably say at the moment that Buatsi is probably too good for a next-gen card. I wouldn't personally, but in the market, Eddie Hearn probably treats him like that. So yeah, I just think the whole thing's a bit of a mess. I'm being priced out of it. I mean, there's going to be 11 pay-per-views this year, if up to AJ, I think. So with the likes of Bellew and Usyk on the cards potentially, and Chisora and Del Boy on the cards in addition to that, or either or, I mean, we're looking at one a month if you include in WBSS and BT, and Frank's already got a couple scheduled for BT. I mean, they don't ask us to pay pay-per-view for Celtic Rangers today, do they? Or Liverpool United, whenever that is next month. They don't ask you to pay pay-per-view for that. I just think it's beyond a joke.
Smitho, it's funny you should mention that, actually. Whenever we had James Hare on recently, I think it was last month, I was flicking through one of his old fights, and in between one of the rounds, they started advertising. I think it was Blackburn against Everton on Sky Sports football pay-per-view. So if you remember back, they tried it with the football.
It was
and it didn't work.
Premiership
Plus, I think. Yeah.
It wasn't the top level stuff though, Steve. That was what I would call the Sentanta package, or BT have got it now. So Sky can't. There's 6 packages in football. Sky can't have all 6. So it used to be that the odd one out used to go to a different avenue, But yeah, I mean, the latest one this week is, White and Chisora too. I mean, you can just see it now, Steve. Eddie will come on, he'll say, both men have done enough, have already earned a world title shot in their last fights. Both put in amazing performances in great fights in front of a packed out stadium. They could fight for a world title, but they're going to put it all on the line to settle a score at the O2 this December, and it's going to be 20 quid.
With the winner to fight AJ.
Yeah, we're absolutely with the winner to fight AJ. I mean, we've been saying for a long time, and I'm not claiming originality for this point. We've been saying for probably a year that White AJ 2 is going to happen. They felt like, firstly, I thought it was coming from AJ because he used to drop it in. Then Eddie started dropping in. Now last week, when they've been round the pond fishing somewhere down south, they're openly talking about White's the man. If it's not Wilder, then it'll be White. Brilliant. So, I don't really that don't do a lot for me.
Wasn't AJ tweeting out as well on Instagram or Twitter or something a picture of him and Derek Chisora? Look who I bumped into, and it's like they're laying the groundwork.
Yeah. They certainly are. They certainly are. I think that's what we'll end up with. And then I know we're going to come on later to possibly comparing to Warren's stable, but yeah, away from AJ, what has he really got in terms of star power? I also, going on a little bit of a tangent, I think that we'll see this in the build up to this week and into next week. We're going to see the bullshit that they're going to roll out for Khan and Brook. I mean, for a change, the only person who appears to actually want to do the Khan and Brook fight is Edward Hearn. Everyone else around him is making a mistake. Kell Brook's either injured or inactive. Khan wants it at 147 and only in certain months of the year and at a venue of his choice, etc. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But yeah, generally, going back to the original point, yeah, there has not been a world title fight promoted by Eddie Hearn on regular Sky this year.
Okay, Smido, keep yourself all lubed up. We'll be coming back to you shortly for maybe another discussion. Before we do that, over in Australia, Michael Zarafa, stripper extraordinaire, got a third-round knockout win over Jose Faria, also on the card. These two seem to feature on the same card quite regularly. Blake Caparello, former Sergei Kovalev victim, defeated Lance Bryant. Those guys are building up their records, I think, so they can be shipped back over to America or somewhere to act as fodder for somebody. One thing I forgot last week, Ozzy, forgot to mention in Bellew of the Week or anywhere else, that one of the biggest Bellew of the Weeks, I don't know if you've ever seen anything like this before. No, I haven't. Curtis Harper walking out. Daniel Mills, Chris Ansell, quite a few other guys brought it to my attention. The opponent, F.A. Ajagba, who's a Nigerian, also a decent prospect to keep an eye on, trains with Ronnie Shields in Texas. The fight started, the bell went, the PBC commentator just said, do not blink. Of Ajagba's 5 professional bouts, 4 have been done in the first round, so he likes to bring an end to opponents in a quick fashion. He certainly did, Ozzy. I'm sure you saw it like everybody else.
That was embarrassing.
Quite bizarre.
Yeah, it was an odd one, wasn't it? And I've seen a couple of stories of basically he was saying that he wasn't happy with what he was getting paid and things like that, but why sign to fight if you're not happy with what you're getting paid? I mean, it's one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen in a boxing ring. I mean, I've seen pillocks like that. Uzi Ahmed, who was dancing around, you remember him and stuff like that. But it was just odd, really, really odd. And I mean, will he be allowed to fight again? Will he ban him for it? I mean, he clearly didn't get paid for it. The only thing he's done is make himself look like a fool. He could have just gone down off the first shot, couldn't he? Took a dive, and then no one would have batted an eyelid. Instead, he just walked off like he thought, actually, I don't fancy it. It was a strange thing, and it's probably something that I don't think we'll ever see again either.
I don't know the ins and outs and what the ramifications were, but it certainly got people talking. Like, that clip's kind of gone viral. It certainly had some sort of impact. Whether he probably hasn't been paid. I don't know the ins and outs, but yeah, it's some of the ones that as always with Twitter. Whenever there's an incident, we saw it with Theresa May this week. Whenever there's some sort of video that's funny, the follow-up tweets and gags around it are great. It was someone said live pictures of Eddie Hearn walking away from the Wilder negotiations and stuff like that. I just thought it was it gave out some good content.
It was a strange one though, because we've seen Harper before going life and death with Chris Arreola. Nobody's going to want to hire him now, and like Leon Margules, the promoter, said, everything seemed fine right up until the bell. He was happy enough. He hadn't made any indications at all that he didn't want the fight, and it seemed like a strange protest. Why would you sign the contract? And I don't really know, Ozzy, but yeah, it's a real weird one.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't think it's something we'll ever see again. I mean, his career's probably done now. I mean, who's going to touch him, for the risk that he does it again? Or it could work in his favour. Well, I can't see how it will work in his favour, to be honest. It's just an odd thing, and it's one of them. You can only say so much about it in describing the situation, unless he comes out and explains why he did it. Then it's just going to be repeating ourselves, isn't it? Just, like I said, an odd situation which I suspect we'll never see again.
Yeah, I never need much of an excuse to wheel out my Andrew Sixheads Lewis anecdote, but now's probably the right time. The Guyana former world champion who once exited the ring midway through a fight in the fear that he was about to shit himself. A rogue pre-fight milkshake was to blame. Smido, have you ever been at the races and all of a sudden got caught short?
No. Unfortunately, I can't add to the comedy, but no.
Andy, back to the action from the weekend. Final card of interest, Ryan Garcia, 15-0, defeating Carlos Morales. It was a bit of a step up for, well, I suppose he fought, wasn't it, Velez in his last one? Not really a step up, a sort, but Morales is tough enough, comes to fight. Scores of 98-92 times 2. It was a majority decision, though, because David Denkin put in a 95-95. We were talking off air, maybe one of those ones where they just liked what Morales did a couple of rounds and tightened up the scores. Have we got any concerns for Garcia at all going forward?
I never seen it, mate, other than just from what I read that he said he apparently struggled. Again, Garcia's apparently says that he shouldn't, but he's going to work on. He apparently he was a little bit winded at the end, according to these comments. And Morales is apparently claiming that he felt he gave a good performance against a tough opponent. He was young and fast, had a wee bit of pop, but doesn't feel that Garcia actually hits hard enough. So he claims he felt to win the fight. I need to go and see it, but it's a bit of a shame if you've got kind of like two wide scorecards and other ones go to a draw. So again, if it's clear if there's been close rounds here, and again I'm just basically kind of winging this, but if there's been close rounds, it's probably clear that Garcia's probably been given the advantage in all of those close rounds.
Indeed, I wonder about Garcia. Maybe his mouth is going to talk him into something a bit too quickly.
Well,
the thing is, Andy, we were talking about this on Twitter. I think Babs was talking about it as well. He's young and he needs to be brought up a certain way if they're going to make him into a pay-per-view star, whichever way that's the plan. And whether it'll happen, I don't think it will. But he's talking himself into fights against the likes of Gervonta Davis and all these type of opponents. He's going to end up talking himself, Andy, I think, into a big fight before he's ready, and then he's going to come unstuck. So they just need to put the brakes on him a little bit. Oscar needs to sober up and say, just keep your mouth shut a little bit, and we'll get you where you need to be.
Well, the thing is, he's rapidly gone up the rankings. I see he's ranked 4th now with WBO. I think at the start of the year he was ranked just inside the top 15. So, he's clearly pushing for. For some of the comments that I'm seeing, he's clearly pushing to get a world title fight and that. But some of the sparring sessions that I've seen in that, it's just he's clearly not ready. And as you say, he's maybe still got a wee bit of the amateur style in that. He's chinning in the air and that. He can get tagged and dragged into fucking fights. He's talking about Twitter beefs and that. I've got no interest in this guy, and I do believe if that fight against Davis gets made, Gervonta Davis is going to stretch him.
Just a question on this, lad. Are Golden Boy desperate for him to be a star? Have they not got many other potential stars at the moment? Are they in danger of pushing him too soon?
I think they are. His stardom, his fandom, Smitho, we spoke about it before, is a demographic that's not widely tapped into amongst boxers. Is these sort of teeny bopper girls, like teenage girls and stuff seem to love him. He's big on Instagram. He videos himself running and answering questions. And obviously Golden Boy have seen a market here for this kid and they want to tap into it. But I wonder if he talks and talks, as Andy said, he gets moved up the rankings so quickly, all of a sudden he's backed into a corner where he maybe has to take a fight before it's his time. So I think that might be an issue for him. But if they can keep him undefeated and keep him talking the bullshit, I think there's a lot of money to be made for him.
Fair enough. I just think as a challenger and someone rising up the rankings, I think it's easy to get out of these supposed corners. They just duck a fight.
That's true. Here, Smido, let's move on to something. You can comment on this, actually, from Paul Massingham. He sent me in this message during the week. He said, I'm sure you'll probably be struggling with stuff to talk about next week, but I cancelled my Box Nation subscription after 6 years of loyalty, says Paul. Then I went to cancel over the phone. The advisor tried to retain me by saying, you do realise you'll miss out on the David Price and Danny Garcia fights? Whoopie fucking do, says Paul, getting out of hand these subscriptions. Apparently, if you subscribe to BT, you get Box Nation footage for free, but BT is $27 a month. Box Nation is $12 a month. Don't know why we pay this. Nearly every big fight is on pay-per-view. We mentioned this. I don't know if we mentioned this last week, but someone was talking to me, though, about why they didn't put like the Belfast undercard on Box Nation. You know, the way MTK were filming their own stream, which my head was obscuring for most of it. But if they'd have put that on Box Nation and said, right, you can have this as part of your subscription, and then they maybe try and upsell people to the pay-per-view portion on BT, that it would have been like an avenue in for new fans. I don't know why they don't do that.
Yeah, no, I get that. We spoke about this before. I sympathise strongly with Paul, and I'm probably repeating myself. But yeah, I was a BT subscriber, not for as long as Paul. Couple of years, maybe. Don't have BT at home. Never have had BT Sport at home. So yeah, they announced they was doing this deal where they was going to work alongside each other, and as far as I'm aware, correct me if I'm wrong, they was going to show the boxing shows on BT in exactly the same format as Box Nation. So people that don't have BT can still enjoy it at home. That's clearly not happened, and they've transferred recently, and they've transferred over the bigger stars, the likes of Frampton, Fury, even Yard and Dubois' last card was on BT and not Box Nation. I cancelled in May. And this transfer over, although it might make logical business sense, has not been communicated to the subscribers like Paul and myself. So, as a result, we're baffled why we're paying £12 a month for Frank Warren's very own TV show and his TV channel, and his best shows are on are not on that channel. It's just nonsensical to me. Like I say, there's probably a business idea behind it, and BT are doing well. BT are doing well. Why don't they just be honest with fans and say, we're transferring everything over to BT and Box Nation will be fizzled out, or in the next year or so. Or instead of saying fizzled out, just say we'll be showing primarily MTK shows with a couple of the international stuff, because even the international stuff has dwindled this year, particularly. I find it disgusting, to be honest, the way that the customers have been treated. I think when I rang up, the carrot that was dangled to me was I could have the next month half price, which included Saunders and Murray, which obviously didn't go ahead in the end. But yeah, I mean, at the time when I cancelled, I went on and there was like Jamie Conlon versus TBA was one of only 5 future fights or upcoming shows listed on the website. I mean, it's not good enough, and it's a shame. It is a shame because it is a hardcore kind of audience, obviously. And I think for a time they did pretty well. I mean, when Frank first came on, he said he was going to have live boxing every week. Before I finished, I saw that some cage fighting had been morphed onto the channel as well on a Friday or Saturday night. Some of the English lower level stuff. The stuff like I think the weekly show's been binned off as well, Steve. With Bunsey, I might be wrong there. Some of the stuff that John Evans was working on, that's his name, innit? That's kind of been discontinued as well. So yeah, it's just. But all the while, they've not told any fans or subscribers about it. It's just not on.
Go ahead, Ozzy. Did you want to add something there?
No, I just want to echo that I've saw. I mean, they kind of come out and have admitted, haven't they, that Frank's exclusive agreement with Box Nation has now ended. And I mean, it doesn't take Albert Einstein to work out that naturally all the fighters are going to shift over to BT because that's where the cash is. BT are the ones stumping up the multi-millions of pounds compared to Box Nation, who simply could never do that. Now, in terms of the magazine shows, obviously, with losing all the fighters, it's so like the Boxing Hour and Boxing Matters, they were all stopped basically due to a bit of financing. Naturally, if you're losing a lot of fighters, you're not going to keep two magazine shows on that do cost money in wages and like filming time, etc., things like that. Now, Frank keeps alluding to saying there's going to be big announcements soon. Now, I don't really know what they can do. The MTK deal, I think, is actually quite good. The Belfast show that MTK are putting on is excellent. That's a real good card, that. And that's a good domestic fight. And now what I'd like to have seen Box Nation do is that, fine, do your MTK deal, pick up what international content they can or what they want, and then go out to promoters like Steve Wood, Steffi Bull, Carl Greaves, Steve Goodwin, and do, like one show every other month or something like that, because there's a hell of a lot of boxing on. And as long as it doesn't clash, with like your huge pay-per-views or, your Saturday night fight nights on BT and Sky or Channel 5, then I think that would be good, because it also gives opportunity and it's putting money into the lower ends of the sport. And it also gives, like your lower end prospects a chance to fight on TV as well. Anyway, they've signed up, and what I actually think will end up happening is Box Nation won't exist, and it'll be called like MTK TV, and MTK will buy out Box Nation. That's what I think may happen. They've already got an exclusive deal for a year. It's going to work because MTK want to get their fighters on telly as much as they can. So it would make sense for MTK to have their own television channel, wouldn't it? And Box Nation is set up, all the platforms there. So what's really stopping it, to be honest? MTK are planning for essentially global domination, shows in loads of different countries. It's going to get to a stage where they're going to have shows on every other week. They're going to have to wear them somewhere. And I think their own TV channel is the perfect platform. So I think they're trialing it now. They don't care about the subscriptions at the moment, because all they've done is signed a deal to show their shows on a TV channel. They don't care about the subscriptions. It doesn't affect them. But if they were to buy it out, that would make more sense. This is just my view, this. There's nothing substantial to it, but working it out, I mean, it might be putting 2 and 2 together, but for what they want to do in the sport, I think that's what they may look to in the future.
I like the thinking there, Ross. I like the thinking.
But, I mean, I could be completely wrong there, and I don't think anyone would mind. Naturally, like I said, when Frank signed the deal with BT, this has always been in the pipeline for about 3 years now. It was always the pipeline. Box Nation would hit a certain subscriber level. So, for example, 1 million subscribers. And then BT would move in, do a deal with Frank, and then take it from there. After that, they would then... everything would shift over. Exactly what has happened. The frustrating thing is there's been no communication at all. So you've got these subscribers paying money out, and literally I've been paying. I've not cancelled it because I'm lazy. But I think, well, what am I actually paying for? Because nothing's really been on. Now, I mean, they've got a couple of shows on coming up now, which is actually good to see. But we shouldn't be shocked and glad that a boxing channel is actually picking up boxing shows.
We said it was going to be live boxing every week, Oz.
Yeah.
He
says a lot of things, and I think at the start, yeah, it may seem practical, but it's impossible. The reason they don't film a lot of the undercards is because of money, and a lot of the sometimes they did, like shows. There's just not the value in putting the shows on because it costs. So like the undercards, starting it from say 4 o'clock. There's just not the value to do it, and plus as well, whilst people will say they want to watch it, but at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you struggle to get 500 people in an arena. So how many people are you going to get watching an undercard to watch whoever, for example, Gary Cully against some Nicaraguan at 4R4?
No, you're right. You are right, Ozzy. You are right about that.
Not very many. Now, what I would say is that when the cards are a bit deeper, which Frank's are, I think he puts a lot of competitive fights on, particularly area level and English levels, is they don't get shown on the telly. So show Box Nation from say 6 o'clock until you go live on BT at 7:30, because it might mean you get 3 decent fights of a competitive standard, but people get to watch them, and then you move over to BT. Now you either subscribe to BT or you miss out on the rest of the show. So like what you were saying, Steve, there is it's bartering. This is what you can get for nothing, but obviously if you subscribe to BT, then you'll get the full whack, which for example would be Frampton against Jackson. That's just an example, what was recently on. But it's interesting times, and I mean, I don't want it to fall out. I would hate to see it collapse because, I mean, Frank's done a great job with it. Not many people will walk away from the Sky deal for whatever reason and set up their own TV channel. It takes a lot of bottle to do that and a lot of cash as well. It worked out and it was a success. I don't think you can fault that. Some of the international content they've produced has been nothing short of superb. But to see it frittering away like that is disappointing. And like I said, the lack of communication is equally as bad as well.
No, I agree with you, Ozzy. I'm thinking that, the way sometimes you see the BT Sport cameras already filming as it is, maybe say, look, you lot film, we'll take the content. And then obviously they can become strategic about it. Then Frank sneaks a little 10-round humdinger on one of the shows on the undercard. And then people are like, oh, this is pretty decent stuff. You know what I mean? That type of way. So I don't know. Anyway, let's move on to our next point of interest. I'm going to bring a guest in very shortly. He's the editor of Big Right Hook magazine, which has just been started, new boxing, digital and print copy publication, Lewis Calvert. While I ring him up, Andy, let's stay on that subject because James Sprout asked us a question. He said, just wondering what, if any, magazines the lads read. I think he's talking about boxing magazines, by the way, Andy, in case you're wondering. Is it worth subscribing to Patent Playboy? No, is it worth subscribing to the likes of Boxing Monthly, for example, says James, or maybe Boxing News? What do you think, Andy?
I personally subscribe to Boxing Monthly. I like, like the book reviews, for example. They do get some sort of good content from abroad. Good features, good kind of lengthy interviews. Generally speaking, I also like the kind of year-end stuff. You also get the crosswords.
Yeah.
And we used to get the kind of profile and upcoming prospects for the people to look out for like the coming year. So it's always good to and what else do we usually get in them? The only thing I would really complain about Boxing Monthly is Bunce's article. Sometimes Bunce just goes on a kind of storytelling tangent, and it just sometimes it makes zero sense to me. What he's trying to explain or what he's trying to do, and that, and he always kind of signs it off with the same comments. And that I just think, I'm not saying Bunce does. Bunce has got his place in boxing. He knows his boxing and stuff. It's just I don't know what it is. I know he was having a go again in the online community and that during the week there and stuff, but I just think some of the shit that he writes in that magazine is just that shit.
I quite liked Boxing Monthly when I subscribed. The only problem with it for me was that in this fast-paced moving world that we now live in, thanks to Twitter, etc., it just seemed a bit out of date by the time I got round to reading it. I used to read every single word in there. And the thing with Boxing News, this isn't a criticism. They have quite a lot of amateur content. I don't really care or follow the amateur content, so again, I just that doesn't really do it for me. And the monthly stuff worked out quite well for me because it used to take me a month to read it in full, whereas I would never get through a full Boxing News every week. I ain't got time.
Cheers, Smido. Some feedback from Smido there. Obviously, these type of magazines, the way when they're monthly to get to readers is to have sort of evergreen content. Talking of that type of content, I'm delighted to have our friend Lewis Calvert from Big Right Hook on the call. How are you, Lewis?
I'm good, mate. Thank you very much for having me on the call. How are you?
I'm very well. No problem at all. Good to hear from you. First of all, let's get stuck straight in then, shall we? What's Big Right Hook all about, Lewis?
Well, it's an independent boxing magazine that I started myself. It was about a year and a half ago. So basically, I was looking for an outlet to be a bit more creative with boxing writing and things like that, and I found that I was limited with a lot of websites in terms of like the direction you could go to. So I wanted to give a platform for myself and for other writers far more talented than me to just go and show off their writing skills, and we collate it all together and give a professionally designed page, and kind of compete with your boxing monthlies and your ring magazine and your boxing news, but we don't have their financial muscle. All we do is we give first time writers a chance. We try and promote worthy causes, and we go down the alternative route. We talk about wider issues in the sport of boxing. So do we still need ring girls? What are celebrities doing in boxing? Boxing's relationship with wrestling and football, just trying to keep it evergreen. So anyone who buys it, they could read it in work one week, get it lost in the gym bag, and still be able to read it in 4 weeks' time.
Lewis has sent me a copy. He's also sent me a T-shirt as well. One thing I liked about it was the size. It was like a little book format. Who actually did the design, and who came up with the ideas of all the artwork and integrating it in with the writing, because it looks really well.
Yeah, well, it was kind of a chance encounter on Twitter. So I originally started Big Right Hook. It was like a bedroom blog, and basically I done one preview, one review, one interview, and it was monthly. and I would share it on Twitter, and I was trying to grow the Twitter following for Big Right Hook. And just a bit of serendipity, really. A guy called Ryan the designer, Ryan Wilson is his actual name. He got in touch and said, the magazine's really good, but I could help you out. So basically, I gave him free rein to just be as creative as possible. That's all the magazine was about, finding talented people to be creative, and nothing was off limits. So we done 12 digital magazines monthly, back to back, and I would tell Ryan, this is what we're going to do with the cover. So one of them, so we've got Golovkin and Canelo coming up, and I said, can we get like a Superman versus Superman, immovable object versus, kind of thing going on, and he would just create it. Like, it was so much easier for him than it was for me. So I'd ask, can you make I don't know, the Obama Hope poster is currently in the magazine, but it's got Callum Smith and it says Mundo. So I'd come up with the ideas, and Ryan just executes them far better than I could ever do. He's a really talented guy, and without Ryan, we wouldn't look as unique as we are. The writers wouldn't feel as proud as they do about their work, because everyone's got a website, everyone's got a blog, and there's so many fantastic podcasts out there, including this, but there's not anyone out there giving new guys a chance with a really, really distinctive page, and that's what Ryan gives us. There's no rules. We haven't got advertisers, or we're looking for advertisers, but we haven't got anyone to say you can't do that. So it's just, I give Ryan the freedom, and he always comes up trumps, really.
So straight off then, how do we get a digital copy? How do we get a print version? What type of price range? How often do they come out? All those type of details, Lewis?
Well, we've gone to a printed, but that's where we're going down. We were going down the printed route, taking a big gamble, and that they will be quarterly. For listeners of this podcast, it is usually £4.50, but if they want to use a discount code Nuthouse, they'll get 20% off, and it'll come to about £3.50 or something like that. And I just send it off. So we've got another one coming up in November, I think, but it's kind of all eggs in the one basket. I need support from people with the launch magazine to fund the second magazine, and there's 20 odd writers kind of relying on the next magazine to be printed. So if people go to Big Right Hook, that's BIGWRITEHOOK.co.uk, click on Buy the Mag, type in Nuthouse, and you will get 20% off. And it's brilliant. It's 64 pages. It's A5, full colour, fully designed. So much passion has gone into that, and this has been something we've been working on for years. It's a bit of a dream come true. So many people are getting rejected for writing gigs with big magazines. Everyone's got a chance with us, and it's been a long, hard slog just to get the money. I had to go get a business grant, which took about 3 months with John Moores University. Luckily, I got that, and that's helped fund it, and that's helped print it. And we're trying to be different. We're not just your average A4 magazine. It's A5, 64 pages, and every single person that has bought it up to now, I've been just so overwhelmed with the amount of positive feedback. It's brilliant, because when I started this, it was a dream to have one person buy the magazine, to think I've created something with the help of so many other brilliant people, and there's somebody out there who's willing to part with their hard-earned money to support us. And jobs are tough, mate. There's no the living standards are always going up, and wages aren't going up with them. So it's for anyone to give us money to do what we want to do. It's it's really humbling.
Yeah, go out everybody, 20% off. Nuthouse is the code. Go and grab a copy. It is really good. I've seen it myself. You mentioned the passion there, Lewis. Obviously, you're a passionate boxing fan. What's your own background in boxing? When did you get into the sport? Sort of favourite fighters, that type of thing?
Well, I'd say about 15 years ago. I kind of started on the ITV days when you had Naz and Prince Nazim Hamid. And from there, it's kind of grown. And then I went to university, and I was doing business, and then dropped out, fucked up. So I went back to do journalism. I kind of specialised in sports journalism. From there, I went to do I'm a big football fan as well. So I presented a fan channel for Liverpool Football Club. So I have my own show on Redmen TV, which is brilliant. I suggest everyone goes and looks at that. But that was the real inspiration behind it, because I've always loved boxing, and when I started Big Right Hook, that encompassed everything. I would talk about football, politics, boxing, and I wanted to hone my skills on something that I was really passionate about, because none of my mates like boxing as much as me. I'm the weirdo who writes about it and talks about it all the time, and it is difficult to find other people who are so passionate about it and who will watch every interview and listen to every podcast. But there are people around there that do that. So I would watch a documentary every night. Lennox Lewis, Holyfield. I would just keep watching documentaries. So in terms of favourite fighters, Mike Tyson, knockout merchant. I think Lennox Lewis is really underrated. Currently, I don't think you can ever look past Lomachenko. I think the guy's amazing. Me bird loves him. So I've showed him off to her. Terence Crawford, Mikey Garcia. Guys who are quite slick. They've got the power to end the fight in any round they want. So I do like the personality, and I know you're not great fans of Tony Bellew on this, so you've got to have a mouth to some degree. You've got to be able to back it up in the ring as well, though. So even Tyson Fury, just guys with a bit of humour. I'm not really a big fan of the Adrian Broner types, and even Mayweather's kind of cocky, arrogant money thing. I do like your more humble boxer, the guys that maybe don't know that much English, but tell you what, they can bang. They're the guys I kind of lean towards.
Just to remind our listeners, we've got Lewis Calvert on the call. He's the editor of Big Right Hook, bigrighthhook.co.uk, also on Twitter at Big Right Hook. That's BIGWRITEHOOK. Lewis, final couple of questions, and thanks for coming on with us. What sort of issues did you encounter when trying to get the magazine together that maybe you didn't expect, things that our listeners might not have thought of, which put an obstacle in your way?
Well, to be honest, it was kind of, I tried to run before I could walk, so maybe about 3 months into the digital magazine, I was emailing people off asking for advertising money. I'd emailed Doug Fisher at The Ring magazine, saying, take a look at what I've created. It wasn't all that good back then, so I went into producing the magazine, and I thought the boxing community themselves would be far more closed off than it was. And think that, not that they would look down, because we know the hardcore casual debate, it will forever carry on. But what I found was there were so many people willing to support us and are willing to retweet us, even people who are our competition in many ways. So Knockout London, great magazine, Boxing Monthly, all these magazines are brilliant. The biggest sticking points really have been making money and getting money, because there's no profit in it. I've said this, there's a lot of hard work, a lot of early mornings and a lot of late nights. As you'll know, organising the podcast yourself, I'm doing 9 to 5 in work. I come home and I don't get off the laptop till about 11 o'clock. So all I'm trying to do is get advertisers on board, because my main aim is these first time writers, as much as they love seeing their name in print, I want to say, here's 20 quid just for you, just as a thank you. All I can offer now is for them guys to get a magazine. It's all been hard. Building a following on Twitter is hard, solely because there's not that great a click-through rate. People like to scroll on that. Instagram, people are more, you can't put links on there. Facebook groups are a bit closed off. It's just building the fan base and just, getting people to support us. It's a constant slog, mate, but what fuels me is the people like yourself who see it and read it, and they love what they read, and it's nice to be part of what is a community that's really dynamic. This is new media. This very podcast, the people that are listening to this, they're at the forefront, really, of where it's all going. Fans are the lifeblood of the sport, and we're kind of sick of Matchroom and BT arguing with each other, and then to give bias around their own fighters. There isn't any of that with us. We're just trying to portray the fans' opinions and things. And one of the things that's really big with us is, because we've got this platform now where people will read or people will listen, our job is to say something worth listening to. So we try and promote things like autism awareness and male suicide, and we want to promote good causes, because it's not out there yet. And if someone's going to listen, you may as well say something worth listening to. So that's the next stage for us, is try and get a couple of advertisers on board, and hopefully get this second mag printed. But it's all eggs in this one basket, as I say.
You mentioned the writers there, Lewis. Who's writing the articles? They're all well written, well edited and stuff. Who have you got on board?
Well, basically, I try and be as loyal as possible to the writers that started in the first 2 or 3 months when we were an e-magazine. But it's anyone who inboxes me or sends me an email and says, I've never written before, I'm a first-time writer, and I'd love a chance. All I do is I give them a question. Every single piece in the magazine or on the website, because there's a lot of free content on the website too, I just come up with a question and I say, go in any direction you want to go, because if they enjoy writing it, then you'll enjoy reading it. It's pretty simple. So anyone that comes to me, I'll give them a question and say, keep it within 800 words. Only because people have got a life, and no one wants to be sitting there reading War and Peace. Try and keep it to 5 minutes. And yeah, I have a read through, and some of the worst writers are the ones I get the most, pride out of, because there's writers who are published authors, real like sports writers and other journalists. But I've got guys there who've never written, and some of them are dyslexic, and they throw us articles through. It takes me about half an hour to edit, but when I send that piece back to them, and they're showing their wife or they're showing their kids, mate, that is amazing. That, to me, it's just an amazing thing. So I get everyone on board. Any first timer, if you can't get a spot with Boxing News or Boxing Monthly, come to us, because we will give every single person a chance. So we've got I've worked with over 40 writers now over the past year and a half, and every single person that has asked could they have a shot, I've given them a chance, mate, because everyone's got talent. They just need a chance to prove it, really.
Just final question. Oh, hang on. Smido's jumping in here. Go on, Smido.
No, I'm just going to say, I'm not aware of your activities, and thanks a lot for coming on, but I fucking love your attitude, mate. Honestly. Like, giving everyone a chance, charitable causes, stuff like that. Fucking fair play to you. Really, really mean that.
Well done, Smith. Good one. Just finally for me, Lewis, I was going to ask you more of a technical question. You mentioned there, obviously, it's very heavy on the design, the images and stuff. How difficult is it to sort of source the images, and where do you get them from, and all royalty agreements and all that type of stuff? A bit of a nerdy question, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, basically, when part of the design is to incorporate this kind of grunge and graffiti effect, like you'll see yourself. So one of the modules we done when I got my degree was about copyright law. So basically we distort images to become new images. So a lot of our artwork in there is original art in its own right, though it's been inspired by other posters and things like that. Because it's comment, but we are allowed to use parts of the image, mainly because we are commenting on that. That helps. It helps with the article. So there's no image within our magazine that hasn't been doctored or edited in some way for it to be legal. So if they come after me, the Big Right Hook is a limited company and there's not much left in the bank, so they could bankrupt us, and it's not going to force me and head out the house. Excellent
stuff. There you go, lawyers. Stay away. 20% off, everybody. Add in the little code Nuthouse at Big Right Hook on Twitter. Anything you want to add there, Lewis, before we let you go?
No, just I'm very grateful for the opportunity that you've given me, and I'd say to all the listeners and all the guys that featured on it, keep doing what you're doing, because you're coming up to maybe 300 episodes nearly. I mean, this is what the boxing community needs. I think this is where social media and technology is brilliant. It brings the likes of me and you together, and me and other genuine, real hardcore fans. So just a congratulations to you. Really, keep doing what you're doing, and thank you very much for the support. And thank you to everyone who listened. If you use that code Nuthouse, it would be my absolute pleasure to send them off around the country and around the world if you want to pay the postage.
Brilliant stuff, Lewis. All the best. Best of luck, and maybe in the future you can come back on if you're available.
Yeah, anytime, mate, anytime.
Cheerio. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Chat.
Lewis Calvert there. Andy, you were mentioning Boxing Monthly, Boxing News and all those type of things. Maybe give Lewis's publication a try. He seems like he's having a right good go anyway.
Yeah, I was just thinking when we strike a wee deal there as well, maybe can I get an advertisement in for our hoodies and t-shirts, remember? So who's selling them again, their t-shirts and hoodies?
Mr. Smith, Aussie himself.
Mr. Smith, want to give us the lowdown, mate, before we bring on our next guest?
Sorry, what was that? You broke up a little bit.
Advertising for the hoodies and t-shirts.
Oh, right, yeah. So finally, after a lot of work behind the scenes, the hoodies are now on sale. I'll put the link up on my Twitter again after the show for the hoodies. And the t-shirts are going to be going on sale tomorrow. They just need to get added to the eBay account. So, yeah, they've been made. They're really good quality. I can vouch for that. They were endorsed by friends of the pod, John Ryder and Tom Farrell. So, yeah, get supporting the pod. It holds back into improving everything for what we do. So, yeah, give them a go. Like I said, excellent quality. They look really good. And I think the aim is to try and get behind the boxer, a young boxer turning over eventually and supporting him. So let's wait and see.
Yeah, watch this space. We've spoken about this off air quite a lot, so we're going to hopefully get behind somebody in the near future. We're going to be getting behind you shortly, Rob. Don't run off too quickly at that thought. Before we do so, Hamed's on the call. What about that for a transition, Rob?
Holy shit. Can you hear me okay, yeah?
Yeah, we can hear you perfect, man.
Brandon, I got a brand new phone, new set of headphones. I'm actually out walking the dog at the moment, but we throw it over to Hamed there and I'll come back to this in a sec.
Good stuff, Rob. We'll be coming over to you very shortly. Before we do, the Cardiff Crushers on the call. Welcome to you, Hamed. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, how's it going, Stephen? And the
Well
rest
done.
of the...
Yep, brilliant. Thank you.
All right, yeah, I was watching the Ryan Garcia fight last night. Fell asleep. I think I woke up just when he got buzzed, and I don't think the kid is that good. I think he needs a lot of development. I think he's being rushed. I'll be honest, I think he needs at least about 10 or 12, 13 maybe fights before he thinks about stepping up.
I agree with you.
He's just a little kid. Like, I've sparred before in the gyms, and I could tell the difference between someone who's a kid and someone who's an actual fighter, like a young man. I think he needs to develop, and he needs a new trainer probably, because I think he was getting hit way too much. And if he was gonna fight someone last night that was a lot better than the guy he fought, he would probably have got knocked out. I thought the guy he fought wasn't a bad step up. I think he's got a long way to learn before he even thinks about becoming a world champion. I mean, I've seen some people comparing him to De La Hoya. I think that's a joke. But even comparing him to Khan, I mean, I know Khan, his chin wasn't that good, but Khan was a Olympic silver medalist and was a two or whatever weight champion. I mean, this kid's got a long way to go before he even thinks about being compared, or the people that are comparing him. So I think maybe is a bit harsh, like some of the people that are comparing him to those fighters. I don't think it's probably his fault. He's just been given a lot of hype.
Yeah, it's because of the profile a lot, Hamed. They're comparing him to De La Hoya, maybe because of the profile. De La Hoya was also bringing in that, not that demographic, but pretty similar. But talent-wise, De La Hoya was an amazing
De La
fighter.
Hoya was Olympic gold medalist.
That's right, yeah.
I don't think you can compare the two. I mean, one just looks like a kid. I mean, he's got some skills, don't get me wrong. When you let his hands go, he has got a lot of talent. But, I mean, boxing is more than just about throwing punches. I mean, you could tell when certain guys that can't take a shot. I think he needs to learn how to parry a shot and learn what to do when he gets hit, because his chin didn't even move. I think his head movement was non-existent, and I think he's got a long way to go. I thought I'd jump on and talk about a couple of other stuff. I think the Porter Garcia fight is a really good fight. It's next week, but I don't think there's much hype around it. I know it's on Box Nation here, but even in America, I don't think many people have. I don't know if it's to do with the fighters, that they're not that big of fighters, like name recognition-wise, but I don't think it's getting that much hype. Or do you reckon it's being overshadowed by the Golovkin-Canelo fight?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't think people are that hyped about it, to be honest, because they know exactly what they're going to see. Porter, rush in, not really a great style. Garcia, a little bit of a plodder. I'm doing them a disservice, obviously both world-level fighters. But are you looking forward to it, Hamid? I'm not really.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think on paper it's a really good fight. Actual fight might be a bit ugly, but
Yeah, it's going to be terrible, I think.
I think Garcia's got a chance of knocking him out, or I think Porter might just outwork him. I think a lot of people underestimated Porter. I still don't think anyone has beaten him convincingly. I thought the Brook fight could have went either way. Same with the Thurman fight. I thought Thurman beat him. I thought the Brook fight, I had it draw. But I think Brook did land a lot of clean shots on him. And I think that's why the judges gave him the decision. But against Broner, the way he overwhelmed him and the way he overwhelmed... what's his name? Berto. I think Danny Garcia doesn't throw enough punches to keep him off. Although I think Danny Garcia hits really hard, like the way he knocked out Rios, even though I think Rios was way past there. He's got the one hitter quitter in him. So if Porter comes in head first, he could walk onto some big shots. But if I was a betting man, I'd probably put money on Porter. I think work rate from Porter is very good. And I think Porter's chin is very good. I mean, if you could take shots of Thurman and Brook for 24 rounds, you probably should be able to take shots from Garcia as long as he doesn't get caught with anything stupid. Also, I thought Canelo Golovkin has been very hyped up. I'm kind of hyped up as well after seeing the first episode of 24/7. I'm just a bit curious to how come BT Sport haven't announced the price, because if people are going to open it, wouldn't you think about 2 weeks out they should be announcing the price of the pay-per-view fight?
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
It's quite alarming now. I'm not too sure if I'll be opening it or...
Are they going to drop a bomb on us, Hamid, do you think? Is it going to be like a 20 quid or something like that?
I think Fish Eyes has got enough problems. I don't think he could con the public anymore. I mean, he was meant to announce the Wilder Fury fight last week, so I'm not too sure what's going on. I thought the interesting point was made about Boxing Matters. I thought that was a really good show. I used to listen to UCN live, is it 10 count? I think they were quite biased to, I think, Golovkin and certain fighters like Tom Loeffler.
Of course, Steve Kim, man. What was about that fucking Golovkin? Of course he's biased, the fucking queen.
No way.
Same as Dougie Fisher as well, and Montero, the rest of. But I thought Boxing Matters was a good show. I don't think they were biased. They used to call it down the middle. But
is that the one with John Evans and that?
Yeah, I thought
that was a great show actually.
Do you miss seeing Alan Hubbard's big belly on the couch?
Yeah, but at least they were doing something like what we were doing with Punches for the Past, for example. They were like talking about fights. You know, Sky Sports constantly repeat the same fucking fights or fighters. But these guys in Box Nation would actually pick up fights or different fights and discuss them and stuff like that.
Oh, that was a fight to remember, wasn't it, Andy?
Yeah,
I think
something along those lines to what we do with Punches for the Past, which I quite enjoyed.
It's a unique show, though. They used to talk about everything. They used to cover everything in about 30 minutes. I used to record it like weekly, and that's quite bad. The fact that the channel's still running, but that program won't be on there. I thought the guests on there were really good, and the host was really good as well. With UCN, if Golovkin loses, I think it'll be interesting to see how those guys react. Some of those reporters are quite annoying, and Golovkin as well. I was a big fan of Golovkin. I don't know, lost interest. I think with all the belts and situation, I think that was a bit of a farce, because if he really wanted all the belts, he wouldn't have been fighting Vanez Martirosyan on May the 5th, and he would have tried and kept his IBF belt, because I mean, if he really wanted all the belts, he would have fought Derevyanchenko, and he never. But those reporters on that platform are quite annoying. I can't follow them on Twitter. When you follow them, the things they're saying, you think these are fanboys, and they're really actual writers and reporters. They should be calling it how they see it, but I think they're just pushing an agenda. But as for the fight, Golovkin-Canelo, I think I got a feeling Canelo might win this fight. I was up Brook and Golovkin, and I remember saying to my mate when we were watching the fight, after the fight, I think Golovkin is probably past his best at this point, because I saw his legs. I don't think his legs are the same. He looked a bit old in that fight. I thought against Canelo, he definitely showed signs of decline. He was missing a lot, and I think that his jab bailed him out. I remember saying that after the fight. If it wasn't for his jab, I think Canelo probably would have won that fight. Don't get me wrong, he did land a lot of other shots as well. He landed the odd few hooks here and there, and I think it was a big right hook, but if his jab wasn't successful in that fight, I think Canelo would probably have got the decision. It's just Canelo was getting backed up by that jab and was sitting on the ropes. But for this fight, I think if Canelo could keep it in the middle, which I think he could, I think Canelo will probably win this fight. It's definitely a tougher fight to call than last year. I predicted a draw last year. I don't think many people called a draw last year. I think I was saying it was going to be a controversial decision, and I ended up just saying it'll probably be a draw. I thought Golovkin didn't win the fight last year, but it wasn't a robbery. It was like I had it about 7-5 Golovkin. I could go as far as saying 8-4, but I don't think a draw is a robbery 6-6. I think it's been generous to Canelo, but I thought Canelo clearly won about 3 or 4 rounds. I think this time round, I think Canelo probably has got more dimensions to give. I think Golovkin has peaked, and I think he's kind of past his prime. I think he's kind of plateaued. I don't think he could get any better. I'm surprised how many people are picking Golovkin to blow him out, but if Canelo was on clenbuterol or roids, then I think that could show in this fight if it makes a difference. But I think age might make a difference. I think Golovkin has had a long career, 36, 350 amateur fights, and I think this could be the night he shows. But I'm not too sure if it'll end in a knockout. I'm kind of thinking this could end in a knockout, but I don't know if they do what they did last time, and both of them kind of are hesitant not to pull the trigger. Unlike Joshua Klitschko, I thought Joshua Klitschko both tried knocking each other out, and that's why that turned into a classic. With this fight, I think they're both kind of hesitant, and that's why there wasn't a knockout or any knockdowns. But Golovkin has got a really good chin, but I don't think you can rely on a chin. I think anyone could get knocked out, and I don't think Golovkin's chin is as good as someone like Hagler's. So I'm still quite.
Golovkin's never been. Hang on, Golovkin's never been wobbled at all. So to say
I thought Brook hurt him. I was there live and I could see his legs. I know he came in head first, but I thought Brook kind of.
I actually agree with that.
I don't know if I wouldn't say hurt as in he was wobbly, but this was a welterweight. Let's not get it wrong. If Brook was a natural middleweight, I think Brook probably would have had him even more hurt. And I thought that was a good shot, but Golovkin fought a reckless fight, so I'm not too sure if you could read too much into that.
You don't think he fought a reckless fight because it's exactly that? He was fighting a welterweight, and he just thought, it's not going to hurt me.
It was, but he's gonna try and knock out Canelo this time. I don't think he's gonna try and do what he did last time. And Canelo could probably walk him onto a big shot. I think Canelo could knock him out. I mean,
Canelo is also half the size and not on the juice as well. Now he looks a lot smaller compared to what he has done previously.
That's a good point.
Hamed, you're getting called out on Twitter by Rob Barnett as well. He says Golovkin clearly won the first fight. This time Canelo is half the size because he isn't juiced up. Golovkin will stop him in the 10th round.
But people are making too much of size. I mean, last time he was too big and he got gassed out. This time he's smaller. So, I mean, and his work rate was a lot down than people thought. He should have been throwing a lot more punches in the last fight. The fact that he's smaller, I think, could probably work to his advantage. Whether or not he could stop Golovkin, I think is a big ask. I wouldn't put money on a knockout for Canelo. I'm not saying Canelo's going to knock him out, but I mean, anyone could age overnight. I mean, Roy Jones got knocked out against Tava. How many people thought he was going to get stopped that night? And Ward stopped Kovalev. I know.
Yeah, but Roy Jones dumped 25 pounds in weight to come down for that fight.
That's true, but I'm just saying before
that was the rematch, though. He got stopped, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it was the first fight. The first fight he struggled badly, and then he got badly knocked out.
That's right.
But before that fight, I don't think many people predicted that Tava was going to knock him out. I still think Roy Jones was the favourite.
What do you think?
I think Jones getting knocked out back to back, Tarver, and I think it was Glenn Johnson. I think it was. That was the most shocking thing. That was the most shocking thing about it.
Yeah, that's right. Hamed, Derek has been in touch on Twitter. He said it's £16.99 for the Canelo fight. I saw an ad yesterday on BT during the football.
I'll give that a pass.
You're not going to invest, no?
No, the first fight wasn't on pay-per-view, so what gives them the right to charge for the second fight? I don't think the first fight was even a classic. I thought it was a good fight. I've only rewatched it once. It wasn't an all-time classic. I think Pavlik Taylor was a better fight. I know these guys are probably go down as better fighters than those guys, but
Pavlik Taylor was an amazing fight.
Yeah, I don't think the first fight was that great. I think it delivered, but I don't think it was
First
a
fight was
fight of the.
amazing. First fight was fucking fantastic. Look at the ending. Steve Smoker involved. Pavlik getting up off his arse. Come on, man. That was the first fight.
No, I've seen the Golovkin Canelo first fight. I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I'll take you talking about Pavlik again.
Oh, that was a great fight. That was a
Against
really
Taylor.
good fight. Yeah, that was a good fight. I think Taylor has had some issues recently, but I'm not too sure if he's suffering from all those knockout losses because he had. But back to Golovkin. Yeah, finish what you're saying.
No, Andy, I think was commenting on the fact he's got CTE now. I think Taylor's
Okay.
head's all scrambled, isn't it? You go on ahead, Hamed. What are you
All
thinking?
right, so I'm just gonna say before I wrap it up, Golovkin, Canelo. I think he has got the hype up, but I hope we don't see this fight for the third time. Unless it's a draw, I don't think I want to see this fight again. Unless it turns out to be some really classic, maybe down the line. But I like to see these guys fight. Maybe Billy Joe Saunders, if he could beat Andrade, maybe the Jacobs Derevchenko in a mix and match. The division has finally come to life. I think it's been like the heavyweight division. I like to see some good fights. I don't want to see the same guys fighting each other and just milking out the fans because I think it's a bit unfair on the other challengers. Like I think Charlo's a mandatory challenger and he should be being active, but you can't just hold all the belts hostage. And I think if Golovkin doesn't get the decision in this fight, I think they need to move on. You can't just be held ransom by Canelo because Canelo is the cash cow. I think if it's a close fight, I think Canelo would probably get the decision again, unless Golovkin clearly wins. Because I think Golovkin at 36, he's not Mayweather. I think Canelo is the guy that brings all the money, brings all the revenue. I think Canelo for Vegas is a very big commodity, and if he wins this fight, he probably. If it's a close fight, he'll probably win the fight. Like if it's probably the same as last time and Canelo does a little bit better, he'll probably get the decision.
Yeah, I think that if it's close, they'll probably go for a third one. That's where the money is. I know Billy Joe Saunders is fighting Demetrius Andrade. You've also got Derevchenko going in against Danny Jacobs. Charlo, as you said, is also chipping around. So there's plenty going on. Just finally, Hamed, very briefly, next week, Amir Khan, fresh off the back of his big blast out of Phil the Greco, goes in against Sammy Vargas. What will the fight tell us? What does Amir Khan need to do to look impressive?
I've lost interest in Khan a long time ago, but. I don't know. I think he's trying to get a fight with Pacquiao, but I think the fans want the Brook fight. I'd rather see the Pacquiao fight. I think Brook and Khan have both been knocked out, and I don't know. I think it's a bit of a fight between two has-beens. I think Pacquiao has still got a lot to offer. Like I think he's still a top 5 welterweight, even though I think some of the top guys beat him. So I think that's the fight I want to see. But I think Khan should win next week. He's got Joe Goosen in his corner. I think that's a good team and a good trainer who could probably help him out. But Khan will probably go on to fight maybe Brock next, or if Hearn can make the Pacquiao fight. But I don't think Hearn is going to make that fight.
Great stuff, Hamed. We'll get you back on after the Canelo Golovkin fight. You put your tin hat on. We'll speak to you then.
All right. Cheers.
All the best. Bye-bye now. Right, Ozzy, we're going to be coming to you shortly looking for a Josh Leather update. Just before we do that, rapping Rob Kelly, Hamed was talking there about Garcia and Porter. You were obviously mentioning this epic clash last week. Is it going to be a good fight, first of all, stylistically, Rob?
I thought this was the football phone in, man. Sorry. All right, Andy.
You're on 606.
606 lives, that's what it is.
That's what I have a song for Crom this week. It's called Pump Up and Cham. But listen, that fight, yuck. I hate it. Everyone knows I hate that fight. Like, I hate any fight that has Sean Porter in it because the guy is just tackling guys to the ropes. Him and his dad are two weirdos. I just don't understand how he's had so many shots at world titles. Yeah, he beat AB, but shut that soft ass shit up. Like, his hair is ridiculous. Danny Garcia was being pushed to be one of the big stars of the sport a couple of years ago, and I thought, as part of that Showtime run that Floyd signed, I think it was a 5-fight deal, was it? Towards the end of his career, I thought Garcia was in line to move up to 47 to challenge Floyd in and around the before the Pacquiao fight got made. So I think if Garcia is a fraction of the fighter that they were making him out to be, he should beat Sean Porter. Hammond made a good point about Porter rushing in with his head up. I think Garcia is a great left hook, power in both hands actually, and he can box a little bit. He boxed a bit against Matisse, who's a limited guy coming forward really with bad feet. You know, he has 2 hammer fists, but bad feet really, Matisse, and he's been exposed against any kind of boxer. And I think if he boxed similarly to that, he could possibly get Porter out of there, or at least win a lopsided decision boxing.
And Rob, sorry, can I just throw something in as well, which was brought to my attention a couple of weeks ago? Matisse hasn't been as quick to bang people out lately since he enrolled on WBC or whatever the program was. Someone was making the point to me.
Well, there's a lot of that, like, isn't it? And really, for me, this whole Canelo Golovkin thing is just soured. Like, I can't be as excited about it. I was listening to some of the perspective there from Hamid. Like, I don't know, like if Canelo wins this fight, like, really it's tarnished, isn't it? No matter what. Sometimes you see in a rematch a kind of a replay or an extended replay of the second half of the first fight, where whoever's performing better in the second half of the first fight kind of picks up where they left off. Like, so sometimes you'll see that, and if the fight goes that way, you'd see that Canelo being with a chance of getting a decision. I said after the last fight, if he could learn, instead of lying on the ropes and becoming a bit of a sitting duck for Golovkin, that if he could learn to clinch and move the fight back to the center of the ring and reset, he'd have a chance of getting a big decision, like a big chance of getting a decision. So, but even if he wins, it's tarnished for me because he was clearly on the roids, and I don't think his punching power is hard enough to stop Golovkin, by the way. I can't see that. Like, I mean, I've seen Golovkin take flush shots from Curtis Stevens, Lemieux. They never budged him. Canelo in the last fight, like, Canelo punched him, hit him with something that would have knocked down a wall in the last fight, and he walked through it and smiled at him. Like, so I can't see him knocking him out unless his legs are gone, unless he walks onto something that he
That's
he just
bonkers,
doesn't
isn't
see.
it, man? Canelo on the juice hits him that flush, and his head, just bounces off.
And a lot of Canelo's knockouts against smaller guys like Kirkland and Khan. So, his one punch knockouts. You'll remember, like, anyone who's been paying attention to Canelo will remember that before he was on the juice, he wasn't exactly this emphatic knockout artist. Like, he couldn't. Took him a long time to get Ryan Rhodes out of there. Struggled with Hatton. Bigger guy against Gomez. And the fight was maybe stopped a little bit early.
Against Baby Cotto. Remember Baby Cotto absolutely iced
his
just a bit. Remember
that? He nearly knocked him out, didn't he? Like, so, and he was left all over the shop.
Yep.
Walked straight onto it. Like, recovered well actually in that fight. Like, but so we've been paying attention. So we remember these things. Like, even in the lower weights when he's much bigger, he wasn't bulldozing guys. Like, so I can't see him at 60 knocking out Golovkin. Just can't see him. Sorry, I went off the topic there a little bit, but
no, don't worry, Rob. Just bringing you back on undercard of Garcia Porter. Interesting heavyweight affair between unbeaten Pole Adam Kovnacki and former IBF champion Charles Martin. That could be an interesting one.
Yeah, Charles Martin is with my man Javon Sugarhill at the moment, isn't he? And they're talking about getting for contention. They want the AJ rematch, which is never happening. Like, unless Charles Martin under the tutelage of Sugarhill turns into a different fighter than the one we saw against the Russian guy that blew out his knee. What was that, Glavacki? Or a Polish guy that blew out his knee where he won the title.
Yeah, that's right.
By default, because the guy his knee blew out in the middle of the fight, and the guy
Glazkov, I think, Rob. Sorry,
Glazkov. Sorry. And the guy that was, as Peter Fury infamously said, he was looking for the floor to lie on before he hit the deck against AJ. Like, so, no real interest in this one. Like, Charles Martin hasn't shown me anything to make me want to watch him again so far. So,
fair play, Rob. No problem. Smitho, we're coming to you shortly on Golovkin Canelo. Don't worry, stealing my thunder for next week. But don't. James O'Shea Aussie has been coming in with a question on Josh Leather. He said Josh Leather has possibly been giving up the sport after the pullout against O'Hara Davis. Can you shed any light on this matter? I used to do a little bit of training at the same gym as Josh, but I haven't seen him in a really long time. Any updates, Aussie?
Not that I'm aware of from when I last gave an update from when he pulled out. Heard a couple of things. He obviously moved down to Gary Lockett's gym in Wales. Him and his brother, they were getting looked after really well there, living there throughout the week and then travelling back up to, I think, Middlesbrough way for the weekend. And it was going really well. And then I think they fell out of love with it a little bit, but carried on and then felt, I don't know, obviously, if you're not enjoying it. And then you've got all the travelling as well. We're not talking about half an hour. We're talking about probably 3 or 4 hours away. And it was too much. And then obviously he took the fight against Davis, which I was gobsmacked with because he'd obviously left Gary Lockett's gym prior to taking the fight. Anyway, I've heard he's since he had problems with his medical. They found some sort of shadow or something like that, or on his brain scans. So it's obviously a sad state of affairs. That, I mean, you never want any boxer to have problems with medicals or anything like that, but that's what they're there for. Without them, we'd obviously see a lot more injuries, and fingers crossed it's just something that obviously isn't serious, or sadly it might be the end of his career. And he was a talent, Josh Leather, as well. He is a talent. He is a talent. So fingers crossed it's one of them. He's having a bit of time out maybe to recover from whatever injury it was or something like that. And then we can take it from there, and fingers crossed he gets his license back and he gets back in the ring, because said he's a talented lad. Was involved in an excellent fight with Glenn Foot, which I thought he lost and it cost me money. But overall, no, really good fighter, and it'd be good to see him back. But in terms of the update, nothing since. It's all been quiet. Just it was a case of it was the medical problem and nothing since.
Yeah, it's always sad to see a fighter who can't compete and have to retire prematurely. Obviously, when it comes to the brain and that, you have to be careful. But I do remember a super featherweight from back in the day. This is going way back, called Kevin Lear from London. He had shoulder problems. His breakout fight was when he outboxed and stopped, I think, Michael Gomez on Sky Sports, and people thought he was destined for big things. Like I said, the old shoulder. If the tools of the trade aren't working, you can't get in there. And Lear had to retire, unfortunately. If anybody remembers him, hit me up on Twitter. Coming up next week, everybody, Joseph Agbeko is back in action. He's on the comeback trail. WBO bantamweight title fight against Ekau Wilson. Also, Zaur Abdullayev. This sounds like it's Box Nation fodder. He's 9-0. One of these talented Russians going in on Friday the 7th of September against Henry Lundy, Hank Lundy himself, for a WBC bauble. I know for a fact Smido won't be watching any of those fights. What you will be watching, though, Smido, maybe for £17 on BT Sport, Canelo Triple G. Give us your thoughts, Smid, especially on the price of the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I mean, we're not surprised. It's pretty standard, isn't it? Disappointing, because it's one of them that if I do watch it, I want to watch it on crisp HD at real time rather than trying to get a stream up on my laptop at 4 a.m. But anyway, this fight for me, Rob alluded to a fair few of the points that I would go along the same lines of, but it's the drugs issue, because if this fight was happening under the same circumstances as last time, i.e. no drug story in the interim, which we obviously have had, if it was happening the same and the fighters were fighting under the same conditions as before, then I would be a big fan of Canelo in this fight. I think that if he's now had a fight at a true middleweight, and I think that if he could have refined and trusted in his gas tank going into this fight, I think he would have gone forward and got the job done. But given that it very much looks like he was cheating, then none of us can really make a prediction. How small is he gonna? How much smaller is he gonna look, or how much oxygen is he gonna retain compared to last time? We just really don't know, and until they get in the ring. So making a prediction or having a bet on it is something that I'm unlikely to be doing. But I thought from the first fight, and this is coming from a Golovkin fanboy, that Canelo would have gone forward and won this fight by doing pretty much that he did last time, but maybe starting to have success a little bit earlier if he trusts in his own gas tank. Obviously, Golovkin's another year older. He's clearly not as I say clearly. There's suggestions there that he's not as good as the people like me built him up to be, i.e. a monster that knocks everyone out, because the best two opponents he's faced, he's gone the distance with, Jacobs and Canelo.
But that happens though, doesn't it, Smido? That's natural in boxing.
Yeah, that's absolutely natural. But but what I'm saying is, Steve, people like me who were fully on the bandwagon of Canelo's knocked out, I think he got to 23 straight knockouts possibly, were saying he was going to knock out all comers, including Canelo and Jacobs, and he didn't do that. So but it is natural as you move up levels, of course it is. But it's just, again, we've said this about him many times, it's just a shame that the real big fights, and Jacobs wasn't in that bracket, but the Canelo fights and of that pay-per-view Las Vegas ilk have come when he's 37 years old or in that region. So But yeah, I've not watched the 24/7, but I will do that this week. But yeah, it's like I say, just difficult to make a prediction given the drugs issue. I mean, what was you guys' kind of conclusion? I'd be interested to see what Andy's got to say about it. Is he banged to rights? Is it a load of bullshit? Have they got away with it? What's the conclusion on the drugs episode for Canelo? Cheat.
Well, I mean, we discussed it at the time, didn't we, Andy? What do you think now? Looking back, Canelo said that he had been exonerated through the hair follicles and all this type of stuff. I know Eric Gomez was talking recently, and he was talking about vindication and all this type of stuff, as if Canelo had been cleared and he was, he'd been in the wrong and all that, and people shouldn't have accused him. But I don't know what you think, Andy, now looking back at it in the cold light today.
I believe he cheated. I said that at the time. I think there was about a 3-week gap between the hair sample getting submitted when everybody was actually kind of calling for it. I think Victor Conte was calling for it, and 3 weeks later ended up giving the sample and that. So maybe just giving it time to let this stuff get out of his system. I really don't know, but I think he cheated. If you look at the size of him compared to how he's looking just now, but it will be interesting to compare the two weigh-ins actually. I think we'll get a better estimate there, but I think he cheated. It's been well known in Mexico for years now, in football, boxing, even in other countries and stuff like that, about clenbuterol being, injected into cattle and then into meat and stuff like that. So he's known about it. And I've said before, his trainer is a qualified butcher, so they should know better.
It's like they had a ready-made excuse, isn't it? Because the Mexican soccer team had been exonerated on the same grounds before. So it was like, oh yeah, no, there is clenbuterol in the system, but he's been eating some Mexican tacos, lads, and you know what that does to you. Look what happened to the soccer players. So we're going to prove him right. Stand by, and everyone's like, get the hair follicle. Get the fucking hair follicle. And then about 6 weeks later, the hair follicle eventually gets produced. But all through the time, they never informed us that test had been underway or that he had submitted a hair follicle. So we only find out after the fact. So why didn't they let us know? I think, look, the doping is rife in boxing, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
You had your one, Mia St. John, a few weeks ago, basically calling out Top Rank, saying that all of their fighters, and Top Rank knew. So maybe Golden Boy were thinking, look, because there's definitely a difference. This big puncher, he knocked out Kirkland and Khan when he's giant compared to the two of them. But he didn't get rid of Angulo and he didn't get rid of Lara. In fact, Lara probably took him to school for half the fight, and Lara's been known to be down in other fights. So if he's that big of a monster puncher, he surely would have touched Lara to the point where he's going to wobble him or something. Angulo has stopped on his feet. So I think they've said, fuck it, he's our cash cow. The only way he's going in against Golovkin and these guys now is we're going to dope him up for 2 years. And other fighters have done it. Don't tell me when Floyd retired for a year that time before the Marquez fight, that he was just putting his feet up. He was definitely cycling. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
The whole lot of them have been on it. And I think especially when he lost to Floyd, they learned a lot from that. They were like, here, look, this fella's here with a 12-pack. You know what I mean? At 38 years of age with a 12-pack. Let's get on this gravy train, baby. And but to me, it's tarnished. It's tarnished now. It's completely tarnished.
Just on top of what Rob was saying about the soccer and stuff like that. I mean, I forget what years, maybe 2012 or something. I think they held the Youth World Cup in Mexico, and I think something like 200 samples came back positive for clenbuterol, and that was across Mexico, Mexican team, and obviously other nations and that as well. So they fucking knew about it back then. Come on, be serious. In this day and age, listen, if you're not on it, then you're not earning. Basically, it's just the way it is. Floyd been off for 2 years before he comes back to fight McGregor. What's he been doing in 2 years? He's looking thicker. How can he look that good at 41?
Smido, will you look that good at 41?
Well, if I can get some clenbuterol, yeah, I would take some, definitely.
I'll tell you what as well, the telltale signs for Floyd that time was the therapeutic use exemption, and in the wake of that, the 24/7 when they're rolling out those trees conveniently, because Floyd's going old school to get big against Pacquiao. He's going old school, he's chopping the trees. Alex Ariza was hiding behind one of the trees, peeking his head out fuck out of here.
Yeah, Rob, I don't know if you remember this one, mate, but there was one episode, I forget what fight it was, it might be Marquez, but there was a time when Floyd is sitting there and he's sitting with the testers, waiting to get tested, and he sat for hours. Floyd's drinking all this liquid and he didn't go for a piss.
I know, but they wouldn't show that on 24/7, would they, or whatever it was. I know, but they wouldn't.
Go to testers.
I know they've shown it, but if it was deliberate and it was, they wouldn't want to advertise it.
This This guy's 47, walks around at 47. So what does he need a therapeutic use exemption for to fight Pacquiao, who's smaller anyway? To dehydrate. For rehydration. Exactly. What's he rehydrating for? To fight fucking Pacquiao to come in 154 or something on the night. And look at the shape the two of them were in compared to their early career. Like Pacquiao too. You know what I mean? Oh, come on, like the whole sport's rife, and we kind of like we're like them housewives where they know the husband's having the affair and they say nothing and just get on with it, and then it comes out and they're all upset.
Yeah.
That's what it's like with us with drug testing, because we know what's going on, but we focus on like give people the benefit of the doubt. But to me, this fight's completely tarnished. Like, and I hope Golovkin knocks him out, but I could see Canelo getting a win here.
I can see Canelo being slimmer. I think he's going to be slimmer for this fight, and as a result of that, I think he's going to be quicker on his feet. He was getting Golovkin problems with the head movement, the body movement up against the ropes and stuff like that. Not everything that Golovkin was throwing was landing. I don't know. I get this. I want Golovkin to knock him out, just because I badly do want him. I went through fucking wanting to see Floyd get knocked out of Pacquiao, all that shit, just like years and then 5, 6, whatever years it was to kind of get that fight to happen and not to get it hanging, not to happen as such with Pacquiao winning, right, and knocking him out. But the fact is that Golovkin has been ducked all the years, right, and then Canelo comes along and it's all this manoeuvring, all the political bullshit, all the A-side bullshit that you got to put up with, as Rob says, and that we know it's happening, and it's fucking worse to watch. But it's just like Canelo somehow is going to fucking get the turn of the cards here for some reason. I get that gut instinct.
Happy enough then, Smid?
Buzzing.
We're going to get you on after the Canelo fight, yeah?
Yeah, I'll be on after that. What date's that? So that's on the
16th.
15th.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then now, are you doing a post-fight, AJ?
Yeah, we will do, yeah.
I'll be on for that. I'm not paying, but I'm going to go to my mates to watch it.
Good stuff. Right, we'll catch you then, Smid. Take care of yourself, all right?
Peace.
Cheerio. Adam Smith there, everybody. Andrew Maloney's fighting on Saturday night in Australia against Luis Concepcion. Also down in those lower weights, Andy. We've got the Superfly 3 card. We're on to now. Tom Loeffler. Juan Francisco Estrada is fighting Felipe Oracuta. Donny Nietes, the only title fight of any note, vacant WBO super flyweight title. I think he's moving up to fight Aston Palicte. And then Kazuto Ioka, who's a pretty decent fighter, going against Williams Arroyo. I said I was a little bit underwhelmed by this one, Andy, but you seem to think there's going to be some good value to be found.
Well, I just think it's better than is it Showtime? The Porter against Garcia fights on, is it Showtime?
Uh-huh.
I just think it's slightly better than that. I mean, obviously because you've got 3 names, I suppose, at the weight. Nietes, as you say, moving up. The fight I'm looking at is Ioka against Arroyo, because Ioka is obviously, he'd apparently retired. He'd been away, got married to some Japanese pop star, retired for the sport. As you know, things are in Japan and that you're meant to be registered by a gym. I think his dad was his trainer and stuff, and he's for some reason he's coming back 10-rounder after a year out the ring against a fighter who, by the way, Arroyo gave Quadras a very, very close fight. I did think Arroyo maybe just slightly, won that fight. Scorecards maybe kind of slightly dodgy, but decent fight. That I just wonder to see where Ike was at, because as in terms of weight, he's maxed out. Flyweight he's probably at his best. Nietes is another one moving up in weight. Probably he needs a signature win at some point. So maybe he's kind of looking at the Estrada winner against what do you call him again? Guy he's fighting.
Oracuta.
So Quadras obviously in the mix and stuff. I know he's had some personal problems with going into rehab and that, but I would like to think the winner, Estrada and Nietes, are going to meet up after this fight, actually, because I think Nietes really does need a kind of signature win, and Estrada would probably be at this point on that level with HBO and that as well. So I would probably say that's the fight you want to see happen at that weight.
Next Saturday evening, Aussie, in Birmingham. Fans of Sky Sports Boxing can listen to Adam Smith and Bellew and Smigger and Macklin and all those giving commentary on the Amir Khan Samuel Vargas fight. If you're a Patreon subscriber with us, you can log in and hear me, Andy, Rob, whoever else jumps on the call, do our own commentary at exactly the same time. Goodness knows what the hell's going to go down there, Aussie, but you're welcome to join us if you wish. What do you think about the actual...
Last one was mad, by the way, because we were all on like 5-second differences, so there was lads hitting the deck and oohs and ahs before people had seen it. It was great.
See, the worst it was, Ben was actually there live, so we actually got the 5 second before it actually happened on the TV, so we're like, oh, fuck. And then
That's
Rob's
right, Ben was on
Rob's-
as well, wasn't he? And he
Aye.
jumped on the call, and he'll probably be at the Amir Khan fight, I imagine. So we'll probably get him back on as well,
Aye.
Andy.
Aye, absolutely. And then Rob's obviously watching some stream because he didn't have ITV.
Yeah, I was on some kind of, I don't know what it was, some Saudi Arabian stream. I was getting like Sexton was going down in sections on my stream. Like,
There you go, Ozzy. You're welcome to join us if you wish. Actually, in the ring itself, do you think that we'll be commentating for 2 rounds, 5 rounds, 10 rounds? How long will this be going for, Ozzy?
Not very many. I think this is another straightforward fight for Amir Khan. I don't really know what threats Vargas will pose to him. I mean, Khan's last fight, what was it, over in about a minute, something like that? Or am I giving Le Greco too much credit there?
I don't think he went that long, did he?
No, exactly. I expect it to be the same again with Vargas. Like I said, this guy, I don't. Khan's speed will cause a lot of people problems, and if he gets going, he overwhelms. I just think it's curtains for him, to be honest. Heard a couple of things about Vargas already that don't really inspire me. A couple of people he's been sparring with, etc., things like that. It's one of those fights, really. Hearn's easy to barrack Tyson Fury about Francesco Pianetta. Well, Samuel Vargas is probably on a similar level, to be honest. It's another uninspiring opponent, and considering Khan's going to be looking for the jackpot in probably December against Kell Brook or Manny Pacquiao, Phil Le Greco and Samuel Vargas are hardly two exactly high-caliber opponents to prepare you for 2 top-level guys. So I expect it to be relatively routine for Khan, and then we'll see what it is from there. The undercard, it is what it is, really. Rematch for the British middleweight title, Jason Wellborn, Tommy Langford. I was shocked when Langford got beat against Wellborn, really shocked. I actually rate Langford. I think he's got decent skills, and I was really shocked to see Wellborn, who's having a bit of like a purple patch in his career. He was on the box when he beat, he didn't just beat, he battered Marcus Morrison, didn't he, from pillar to post, and obviously got a good win there, and then he's found his way in for a British title and won it, and he's done it the hard way, Wellborn, predominantly on the small hole scene, and then when he gets his chances, he's usually in the away corner. So that's a good rematch. Scott Fitzgerald, friend of the pod, he's in against Craig Morris. I think Fitzgerald will do the job on Morris pretty convincingly.
And Eggington, then, are they going to fight each other, Ozzy? Is that what they're looking at, maybe?
No. The plan is to get Fitzgerald in with Anthony Fowler.
Yeah, I saw the press release, yeah.
Now that they are really big on that, Michael Jennings and Scott Fitzgerald. So am I, because I cannot wait for that, because Scott Fitzgerald will smash Anthony Fowler to pieces. There's levels in boxing, and people forget.
Say it again, mate. Say that again.
What? Scott Fitzgerald will smash Anthony Fowler to pieces. Now, people forget Fitzgerald has won a Commonwealth gold medal, but because he wasn't part of the big fancy GB camp or come out of the Olympics, it's like his amateur skills are kind of forgotten about. But Scott was a very good amateur and won a lot of titles at extremely good levels, so that can't be qualmed about. So I expect him to do a more than good enough job on Morris, and then hopefully set up the fight with Anthony Fowler later down the line for this year. Sam Eggington is in against Hassan Moquinho. Not a clue, but he'll smash him to bits as well. Nice area title fight. Ryan Kelly, Kelsey Ball. Always a big fan of those. They usually produce the goods. And then you got lads like Lewis Ritson. A couple of Irish lads are getting a run out as well. The card's pretty average, to be honest. You've got Khan, Wellborn and Langford as your chief support. And then really, not a lot else.
Is Ritson still on then, Ozzy, is he?
He is, yeah. He's having an 8-rounder.
Before he fights Patera?
Yes, yeah. And it's just going to be a run out, isn't it? He'll go out, quick run out. I mean, it'll absolutely flatten the guy in front of him. And then it's all on to Newcastle for Lewis Ritson. But yeah, it's a bit underwhelming, isn't it? And this is what we're seeing now from particularly Matchroom at the moment, that the cards they've produced have been, for Saturday nights, have been very poor. Now, the Newcastle card they've announced has the potential to, it's got 3 decent fights in it. I like the Ritson fight. He'll beat Patera, but it's a step up and it's for the European title. Don't mind that. You also got Robbie Davis, Glenfoot, and Valili against Craig Glover.
Mm.
You've got 3 real good fights there, but you look at the Birmingham card now and it's like there's just nothing there for it, and I don't understand it because it's not difficult to make competitive, like an Eggington, get him a better opponent. Now I know he had that problem because he should have been fighting. Was it Brandon Cook?
Yeah.
At short notice and then pulled out due to an eye injury. But then Hearn was promising a massive title fight for Sam Eggington, and he's in against Hassan Mokwinyo, who is the Tanzanian #1. So, well, I mean, he won the prestigious Eastern Central African Professional Boxing Federation super welterweight title. So maybe that's the prestigious title and high-profile title that Eddie Hearn was on about. So I can't wait to see that in the UK next week. But no, all in all, the card's a bit of one of them, isn't it? I'll watch the Khan fight because I don't think it'll be long, and I'll definitely watch the British title fight. But aside from that, I don't really care.
Ozzy, you obviously overlooking his third fight against Shabani Kanuek, 5, 6, and 5 for the vacant Tanzanian pugilistic syndicate title.
Yep, sorry, I missed that as well. And well, he lost that, didn't he? So sadly, we're not going to see that sort of title and caliber of belt making the trip to the UK. But like I said, when you've got the what's it called, the East Central African PBF belt, then what can I say? I can't wait to see it personally. It might just make me tune in.
Yeah, well, hopefully. Andy, I want to get your opinion on Amir Khan just before you get stuck in on him. Any value in this Croatian card? Filip Hrgovic 5-0 going in against Amir Mansour. Nice little step up in levels.
It is a wee step up, aye. Again, it would really depend where Mansour's at. Where is he?
Let's see, he had a no contest with Sergei Kuzmin in his last fight. I think Kuzmin was down to fight David Price at one point. I last saw him retiring against Dominic Brazil. Wasn't that when he got his lip ripped open or something?
Not a few years back, though, eh?
Yeah, that was 2016, right enough. So he won a majority over Travis Kaufman, but he had an inflated record. He's going to give it a go, isn't he? I think against Hrgovic, I imagine, for the first 5 or 6 rounds, and then maybe quit if it's not going his way.
Aye. I'd say I've seen Hrgovic live in Riga. He was, very straight. I wasn't really all that impressed with him, in all honesty. And then obviously he went the distance with Sean Turner, and he did give Sexy a wee bit of beating up, actually, especially as the fight kind of progressed. And I didn't see his last fight. Obviously still going to be work in progress. I really don't know. I think it's obviously at this point it really is a really good step up. Even though Mansour's what is he now? He must be pushing 50. Must be.
Yeah, because he was in jail, wasn't he? And then, let me see.
Some sort of
46, yeah.
So maybe some sort of fresh 46. I don't know. You would think, given, what's that, 20 years?
He's about as fresh as you can be when you've been ripped around those New Jersey prisons, Andy.
Yeah. I suppose. Right, what is it? 10 rounder.
This is a better fight. I mean, this is a better fight than what it should have been, which was Gary Cornish.
Gary Cornish. Oh, definitely, mate. Definitely. But then again, is Mansour been training for it? This is the thing.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah.
This is the thing.
We'll see, won't we?
Tell us about Khan then, Andy. Waste of time? What do you think?
Well, obviously, he's been out the ring. Well, he was out the ring for a fair point. He's going to have to get 2 fights back. We gave that to Fury. It's looking like they're going to be pushing for the Brook fight. Weight-wise, I think he's going to have to stand firm with that 147. Steve, guys, I say to you during the week that I'm concerned for Khan. I listened to him at an interview against Buns Costello. The way he was talking to me, it sounds like, I don't know, it sounds like there's problems there. I think he's forgetting things. I think he's maybe had slight damage, I think. I don't think he should be fighting anymore. I think he's, if he gets the Brook fight, get it made, get out the sport after that, get the money that I really don't know what it is. I'm just really concerned for him actually. I think he's going to come through this fight. He's going to have enough to do it, probably going to win the fight maybe 6-7 rounds. Unless he wants to get extra rounds in, I really don't know. But to be honest, guys, I'm really kind of concerned for the way Amir Khan's kind of talking at the minute. I just think he's kind of searching for what he's trying to say, especially in interviews and stuff. So it's just me on the outside looking in, but I just want to see him retire. Actually, I didn't mean it in any sort of negative way. I just kind of slightly concerned for his health at the minute.
Rob Andy's a bit concerned. Maybe the book fighting out. No concerns on Saturday night, you wouldn't have thought. Vargas has been brought in for a reason. He'll go the same way as Le Greco, probably. It'll last a bit longer, I'd say maybe 6 or 7 rounds, and then they're looking to build up that book fight, you would imagine.
Well, the only thing that makes this fight interesting to me is if your man pulls a Le Greco at the press conference, Vargas, like, and just wears a t-shirt with Skype and dialing on it, like, or like the FaceTime with Amir Khan's face in the corner. Like, that's the only thing that's making that fight interesting. I think Khan finishes this guy within 4 rounds. As soon as he catches him clean and gets him in trouble, to get him out of there. Yeah, I'd echo what Andy's saying. I haven't actually checked many of his recent interviews, like, but you would have to say he suffered concussive knockouts in his career. The Danny Garcia one was pretty brutal because he kept getting back up. He took some heavy shots from Maidana, even though he came through that. But he was on Queer Street, and he's been, he's constantly rocked throughout his career. I mean, going back to Willie Lemon and Gomez and people like this, the British Prescott was a heavy knockout, the Canelo knockout, heavy knockouts. Like, so there's only, that brain lining is very thin, like, and there's only so many of those concussive shots that you could take. And I would echo that with Andy. I'd say if he hasn't got a big payday, and I'd worry about him against Pacquiao too. If he was to be at that Pacquiao Brook, like, I think either of them could turn the lights out on Amir at this stage, like. And it's a pity because he held out for the Floyd fight and didn't get it. Ironically, campaigned for it, and Maidana got the rematch, and the rest was history. Like,
Rob, you make an excellent point. You make an excellent point, Rob. Sorry to interrupt you. Even the Maidana fight, like you say, he won. He showed his balls. He showed his bottle, which has never been in doubt. But he still took too many punches. Even the likes of Julio Diaz, he got knocked down. Yeah. He started taking a lot of shots. Even the fights he's winning.
Algieri even has moments in him with punches with pillow fists. Like, he has moments where he's backing him down, so he's always vulnerable. Like, no matter who he's fighting, and it's always like a case. He moves from Oliver Harrison to Freddie Roach, to Virgil, to, like, he's just, you know what I mean. It's just a constant change to Goosen now. Like, it's always, we're working on defense. Well, the defense never seems to improve from him. Now, I know we saw nothing in the Le Greco fight. Like, he was a bit wild in the finish actually, but Willie Lemon, like, he go, yeah, and Willie Lemon punches, yeah, and he could break eggs with a sledgehammer, like, so, you know what I mean? No disrespect, like, but he's not a big puncher, Willie Lemon, like, and Michael Gomez was shot, like, he nearly knocked him out as well, like, so, like, look, Amir's vulnerable for his whole career, and I think Andy makes a brilliant point, like, get the money now and get out, and like, preferably for him, I think it'd be the Brook fight, because I think Pacquiao would absolutely destroy him. There's stories of sparring that vary. Amir reckons he used to get on top of Pacquiao in sparring. I'd say he probably have moments in sparring, but Freddie Roach refers to a lot of moments where Pacquiao froze him, and Ariza said that too, and I had to tell him to ease off him. So I think this even diminished version of Pacquiao would knock Khan out pretty comfortably.
There's Seven Dragon on the chat saying basically he's watched Khan with setback getting interviewed, and he agrees. He thinks he's off the way he's talking.
Yeah, and it's noticeable. We spoke different times about fighters off air or whatever, and we talk about it. Like, we can see it because we're looking at, and especially in the days that we live in at the moment, where there's so much video content. Like, it's tough to see. Like, and it's such a tough sport. You don't want to see anyone go on too much, especially with Khan. He's earned a lot of money. Like, so. Yeah,
but Rob as well. He's been in our consciousness for since he was 17, 18-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
He's 31 now, and if you go back now, I dare say you can go back and I bet you can find comments for him. He said he was going to retire at 28. Here he is at 31, and he's still fighting.
He wants the mega bucks deal, doesn't he? He wants that big payday, like.
Floyd, Pacquiao all passed him by and stuff like that. He hung on for ages, and they took Canelo, a big gamble, and he got absolutely vaporized.
Yeah, and fought well in the fight. Credit to him, fought well in the fight. But
he was winning the fight.
It was a matter of time. Like, it was a matter of time. As soon as he got touched, he was going to go. Like,
yep, it was 5-0 for me for Amir Khan before he got knocked out. 2 years at the ring, and here we are at this point.
Yeah.
Sorry, to me, I'm not being an arsehole. But I'm not trying to be an arsehole. I'm just trying to say, personally, he needs to retire.
No,
Rob,
because
Rob,
I know
from a nostalgic point of view, Rob, are you pleased to see Joe Goosen back in the corners and hopefully rocking the denim jacket?
Yeah, well, I love Goosen. Like, I forever love Goosen for his part in Corrales Castillo one, like, where he infamously says, "You got to get inside on him now." Like, And he goes out and immediately turns the fight around in one of the greatest fights we'll ever see. Like, so I'll always have a bit of a. I think Goose is a straight talker too, like, which is appreciated in the current climate. Like, so
he's a good coach, isn't he, as well?
Yeah, I mean, nothing. He's there. He's getting some paper as well for that. Like, so nothing against Joe Goose and earning a living, like, and working with a good fighter, like, but. Yeah, I think Amir's days are numbered, like, and it's going to be a sad way to see him go out, because as much stick as we give him for his personality, like, he has fought anyone who he's wanted big fights, like, and he hasn't ducked anyone. So,
Rob, stick around. I've got a question on Kevin Kelly coming up very shortly for you. Also, Bellew of the Weeks, and then we'll be finishing up. We have a few questions left over. If we start going too long, I'll carry them over. Our friend over on Twitter, Men's Luxury Fitness, was tweeting me yesterday, actually, about the ongoing saga between the WBA international title, and it was held by Joe Fournier, obviously, even though he never won it in the ring. Joshua Buatsi got hold of it. The WBA have now released their new ratings for August's action. Joshua Buatsi did, in fact, capture the international title, which was supposedly once in Joe Fournier's hands. Fournier was obviously relieved due to inactivity. The WBA don't seem to recognise his PEDS ban either. They have him ranked at number 11 in their rankings, still above the new international champion, Joshua Buatsi. Quite what is going on between this Joe Fournier and WBA relationship, I've no idea. I'd like to get Buatsi's thoughts on being ranked below Joe, says Men's Luxury Fitness, especially given that the Buatsi fight actually happened and he won the title. I don't know what's going on in the WBA. I don't know why they keep ranking Fournier. I don't know why they had him winning a title that he never actually won in the ring, that Buatsi now takes control of. And Buatsi is the champion. He's lower than Fournier. People might be bored shitless by this, but what the hell is going on with the WBA? I have absolutely no idea. We'll try to get the bottom of that one if we can. Maybe get Roberto Mendoza on the podcast, Andy. More chance of seeing a hog flying past the window.
I just actually pulled up the rankings as you were talking. I just found it there. You got Bivol Champ, Jack, Brown, Murat, Barrera, I don't know who that is, Yusuf, Valera, Smith Jr., Lee, Bremer, Pascal, Fournier. Who never mind. Let's move on.
Let's move on. Did you say anything about Garcia Porter, Andy? Any interest?
No, really. Nah. Pass me by in that one as well. All I can say is thanks to Porter for handling Broner and how he beat him. Done it pretty wide until I get dropped in 12 from that. But other than that, I've absolutely zero. I'll watch it at some point, but not interested.
No problem. Well, before we go on to Bellew of the Weeks, Rick Law has thrown in a question. He said, how good was Kevin Kelly? I've watched the Naz fight over and over again. I watched the Morales fight today. Was the Naz fight classed as a 50-50? I would say probably not. It was the first fight I ever remember, but I don't obviously remember the build-up. I don't think it was a 50-50 because Kelly had lost to Alejandro Gonzalez, hadn't he, whose son ended up fighting Carl Frampton. But anyway, he'd retired on his stool with the swelled eyes, which was a problem for Kelly throughout his career. I seem to remember he had the badly swelled eyes against Derek Gainer, was about to lose the fight, managed to knock Gainer out. I'm going off on a bit of a tangent, Rob, but how good was Kevin Kelly?
Well, Gainer was a very good fighter, like, so Kevin Kelly was excellent. He was actually excellent fighter, like, and I actually tipped him to beat Hamid. I thought he'd beat Hamid, like, because I thought Hamid might be a touch chinny, like. But what a sensational fight, like, and what a performance from Hamid too to get off the deck, like. But the way he caught him was exactly how I thought he'd catch him, with his chin in the air, like. And I think he kind of laid the blueprint for Barrera to catch Hamid coming in later, like. Absolutely terrific fighter. Probably doesn't get the credit in hindsight because Hamid and Barrera were bigger superstars of the division. But like I said, Gainer was putting out advertisements, full page advertisements in the ring and Boxing Monthly to try and call Hamid out at one stage. So he was very confident in his own ability and was doing really well against Kelly, but he showed what a champion is, like, and turned that fight around. So, and gave a great performance against Hamid. He had him bang in trouble, like, and might have, under a different sanction body, could have got him on a 3 knockdown if he managed to catch him again and change the course of history. So, excellent fighter for me. And a pretty good pundit. When I hear him speak off camera in like interviews with Sekbak and those guys, he always comes across really well. Sometimes when he's commentating on fights, though, he can be a little bit biased, but as a sidebar, I guess.
Yeah, Kevin Kelly was a great fighter. We mentioned Derek Gainer there, who was also Derek Smoke Gainer, who was also an excellent fighter. I was trying to think of a fight that Gainer had. I'm looking up BoxRec as we speak. It's possibly later on in his career. It was an absolute fell fest. I think it might have been the Freddie Norwood was it Freddie Norwood? I can't remember. But the referee was absolutely appalling that night, and it was one of the most bizarre fights I've ever seen. I can't see on BoxRec which one it was. So we'll move on. Andy, brief comment from you. You were tweeting about the top 30 European fighters, pound for pound. What did you think overall of the list? You thought that Dimitri Bivol was possibly a little bit too high?
Yeah, I've not got the list in front of me, mate. But what was he? Third, fifth, fourth.
Yeah.
You got the list there?
I haven't. I've just got your screenshot, but I think that it was possibly Joshua was third, Lomachenko was first. Can't remember who was second. Maybe by virtue of the fact that he's unbeaten and world champion, possibly.
Yeah, but I just don't think he's got any signature kind of names or even top wins in there. I would say probably in the top 15 for Bivol, but that was just, yeah.
Interesting list though, wasn't it? I think interesting concept, the guy coming up with it.
It was the top 30, and he also put in a top 5, maybe top 10 reserve as well. It was, I'll need to go back and check it again, but there was a few, especially as you go down the back end, like I think he added like people like Kilbrook. Would you still put Kilbrook in the top 30 at this point in Europe?
Possibly. It starts to get a little thin on the ground, probably after the top 10, 15, I would imagine.
I really wish I had the list there, actually. Put a wee bit more interest into that one. Sorry, mate.
No problem. We'll come back on that one. Something that was brought to my attention just before we came live on air. I noticed that there's a GoFundMe gone up. I'm not expecting anybody to go and contribute or anything. I'm just bringing it up. I threw a few quid in for a guy, Vernon Van Riel. He's one of the Windrush generation. He actually boxed in London, originally from Jamaica. 22-10-3 was his final record, nicknamed the Entertainer. His most notable fight was in 1983 against the infamous Terry Marsh. He lost on points for the vacant Southern Area title, but obviously back then fighting for Southern Area titles was a damn sight more difficult. I'm not saying it's easy now at all, but back then, the guys on the domestic circuit were having some real dust-ups at that type of level. But Mr. Van Riel, he's having a bit of trouble getting back in the country, I think, after coaching in Jamaica. A few mental health problems, ended up on the streets. It's a sad story, really is. BritishBoxers.co.uk did a story on it. So if you want to go over and read it about Vernon Van Riel and maybe offer a bit of assistance if you can. Sorry, Andy, go ahead.
I've got that list here. Bivol was actually number 8, I think it was. So he's got
okay.
Lomachenko, Usyk, Kovalev, Jack, Joshua, Frampton. I don't know if that's maybe the old list, actually. It could be. I need to go and... it is old list, sorry. When you go.
I thought he was number 4 in the one I saw you, possibly.
I'll need to try and pull it up. Sorry, I thought I found it there.
No, don't worry. Right, Ozzy, final question to you. John O'Donovan threw this one in right up your street. We did do a little round table discussion on Patreon about this. Question for the pod. Out of Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren, who now has the overall better stable in terms of being able to deliver consistently strong cards with World Championship level main events, excluding any Matchroom USA fighters? Interesting way it's phrased from John O'Donovan, Ozzy, because you'd automatically think Matchroom, you've got so-and-so, you've got Joshua, you've got this, but deliver consistently strong cards with World Championship level main events. Maybe it's not as cut and dried as you'd think.
Definitely not. It's close. I think both camps have their respected talents that are very good and are their main men. In terms of depth, I think, again, they're both there. But I would kind of side to BT of sorts, that I think they've got a lot of talent coming through, whereas I think a lot of Matchroom's talent is potentially getting older and due to retirement. Amir Khan, Tony Bellew. How long's Kell Brook got left? That's 3 names already that could be done and dusted. Then you've got your lower level, your lads like basically the McDonald's, Jamie McDonald, Gavin McDonald. They don't sell tickets, so Gavin McDonald's been farmed off to America to get his world title shot. With Frank, I lose track of who Frank gets in his stable because he signs people and doesn't update his bloody website, which I think is just a detriment to himself, really, because if you've got these young talents on there, you should have them on the website because obviously you want people to know that they're your fighters. I think he's got a lot of... he's got Saunders, Fury, Frampton, who are his 3 main... and Josh Warrington, sorry, who are his 4 main people. Like stars, if you were to call them. And I think he's got loads of talent coming through. Dubois, Gorman. Anthony Yard's got everything about him. We just don't know how good he is. going further down the line, you've got lads like Mark Heffron, Liam Smith, Liam Williams, Jack Catterall, O'Hara Davis, Terry Flanagan. And then you keep going down. You've got Leon Woodstock. I don't know if Lee Selby's still signed with him. Zalani Tete. So there's a lot of talent there. I mean, I know you mentioned a few weeks ago, Steve, that people would just slag Frank for the sake of it. And quite frankly, it's the easy case because that is what a lot of Twitter people do these days. It's easy to slag Frank because Edward wants you to. Whereas when you actually pull back the pieces, I'd say the stables are very close now. And if I would have to side to it, I would probably say I would maybe edge to BT, but not by much. I think BT's cards are better. I really believe that. And people say, oh, yeah, you're obsessed with Frank. But if you compare a lot of the cards, particularly Saturday night ones, pay-per-views are different and BT haven't entered that market. So in terms of comparisons, you cannot compare them yet. But in terms of cards in general, since BT came on board to the last 2 years of Sky, then I would say in terms of depth, then definitely BT's have been better because he's matching a lot of his lads in-house now and they're producing the goods. Whereas, look at the Birmingham card, for example, on Saturday. There's none of that whatsoever. And I think there is a reluctance of somewhat from Matchroom to match this, particularly at light heavyweight. They've got a lot of light heavyweights. Match them together. Eddie's on about saying Jose Burton's one of the most avoided people and he can't get him a fight. He's got Joshua Buatsi there who he keeps saying who's going to be unbelievable. Well, put them in together then. Why not? What's holding that back? If they're there, you've got Buglione, who you could put in with Buatsi as well. It's close. It's definitely close, but it's a good thing. It's good that they're close because naturally it then brings competition. Whereas if it wasn't, and I mean when it was Frank and Box Nation, I thought there were levels above Matchroom, but quite clearly. Whereas now I think the gap has closed. Albeit, like I said, the 2 stadium shows that Frank's put on, I think the undercards have been pretty poor. And it's disappointing to see. But I think because he's done probably 55,000 tickets across the 2 events, he probably thinks I've made my money. What's the point in investing all the cash in there? So we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see how the cards move forward. But for me, I think it's very close. But in terms of talent and prospects coming through, I would side with BT. But at the same time, Sky, I've got a lot of people coming through as well.
Shout out in the chat to Jason Chukwu. You're wrong there, Jason. We are shitting on Buatsi's matchmaking, that's true, but we also been shitting on yards as well. You obviously not hear me going on about the fact that he was ranked number 1 with the WBO. Plus, we have Bellew of the Week nomination for Tunde as well on yard. So yeah, we happily shit on yard and Buatsi in equal measure. If Buatsi wants to have a look at a bit of matchmaking, why don't they look across to Lawrence Okoli, who's fought Luke Watkins, about to fight Matty Askin, had another one against Isaac Chamberlain as well. Maybe it's the AJ influence that's pushing him through. Maybe Buatsi, I don't think he's signed with AJ, is he? But Chukwu, we shit on Yard as well, just as much as Buatsi.
I did just say about Anthony Yard as well. I said he has got the goods, but we don't know how good he is because, like I said, he's got one. His one win is against Sejloka, which I thought was a more than reasonable win at the stage of his career. The guy had boxed for a European title in his last fight and drew. Yard went out and destroyed him. But since then, he's boxed rubbish. And you can't be ranked at 1 or 2 in the world and still fighting tin cans because it's just not right. It's a false ranking. If you're not going to push on it, then what's the point in being there? I mean, talking on the rankings, I had a look down the WBA, and this says it all. So in the welterweight rankings, Conor Benn is now the 10th best welterweight in the world, according to the WBA. He's ranked ahead of Josh Kelly.
Tremendous. Amazing.
How is that possible? Josh Kelly is... it's not even worth debating. His wins are better, his ability, he is levels and levels above. Yet Conor Benn is at 10 and Kelly's at 11. And it says
sanction fees.
They could actually sanction an eliminator for the world title between Amir Khan and Conor Benn, because Conor Benn's in the top 10.
Go on, Rob.
No, I'm saying it's sanctioning fees. Like, you know,
That's what it is.
Hearn is paying the sanctioning fees for Ben, so he's going up in the rankings. Like, that get that boy hurt. That will get that lad hurt being in the top 10 position. Imagine having to fight another contender in the top 10. Do you know what I mean? He's pushed himself into a mandatory spot against Keith Thurman.
It's ridiculous.
Like,
What
on.
the fuck's Keith Thurman doing these days, by the way? Apart from against
he's off up in the mountains or something, isn't he? A hippie or something? He's off up in the mountains, getting zen.
He's like Thoreau, isn't he? He's on Walden Park.
He's the reincarnation of fucking Dalai Lama or something like that, you know?
Yeah, Chuck, what I would say is I want to see more from both Buatsi and Yard. I think that both of them have potential and both of them have talent. So I'm not siding with one over the other. I want to see them pushed forward, both fighters, to be honest with you. Right, let's push forward ourselves, get on to Bellew of the Week, get out of here. Shall we? Let's go.
It's going to happen, mate. We're going to do it. And when we do it, it's going to be vicious, mate. I ain't a man dregs with the weights. I ain't a man taking the last ounces of my soul on the scales. I've done that before. I ain't doing it no more. You can say what you want. Oh, Bellew's not in shape. Bellew looks fleshy at the weight. Bellew's just iced a man who's never been done before. Bellew just feels in absolutely fantastic shape. Bellew doesn't lose 2.5 stone no more each time in the camp. Bellew goes to the gym now 15 stone and just cuts 10 pounds nice and easy. I fought Nathan Cleverly in my 16th fight, 15 fight novice. I'd fought, the best person I fought was Over McKenzie at British title level. I am now, it's that 25, it's that 26 fights. I've fought some of the best, I've fought the best fighter in the world in my weight class, one of the biggest pound for pound punchers in the world. I've beat guys like Isaac Chilemba, world ranked guys. Let's see who beats Isaac Chilemba. I've beat renowned punchers, Ederson Miranda. I'm not saying he's the best Ederson Miranda. I'm just saying I've beat these guys. Who's he beat? Okay, everyone's saying, well, Tony, he did beat you. He beat a guy who basically got a fight because he opened his mouth at a press conference and he sells a shitload of tickets to the arena. That's why I got that fight. Everybody thought he was going to smash me. Everyone involved with that fight thought he was going to smash me. But when he went to within an inch of losing, and it's a decision that could have been either way, he doesn't want to come near me after it. That's why he couldn't answer the question then when I said it in front of him. Just answer me this. Why wouldn't you take the rematch immediately? Do you know what he said? I think he was saying what that was train station was. That long word. I couldn't understand what he was saying. I just answered a simple question. Why wouldn't you fight me the minute after the rematch happened? He wouldn't fight me because he believed he was going to knock me out and he just believed he was going to beat me up. And that's all I've got to say about that. Right, let's do it right now. You fucking rat.
People loving the theme tunes there. I know Rob Barnett was in the chat. I do try to play them as much as I can. I don't play them that often, as I've mentioned before, because of sometimes background music and stuff. They hammer us on YouTube, you know, over the content, and you get little flags up against you and stuff because of using various tunes and stuff. So that's why I don't play them every week, but every now and again, can't resist. Get the old Bellew of the Week theme out. Right, let's get on to the Bellew of the Week, shall we? The first nomination I've got, JG nominated Mauricio Suleiman. This baby white tiger has been named Don Jose as a tribute to my father, says Suleiman, here with the Canelo Triple G2 belt. He's got a little tiger on the bed and he's got a special belt made just for this rematch. There's no opportunity that the WBC will pass up to make a new belt. Wondering about AJ's next opponent, everybody. Could be our friend of the pod, Freza Crendo. Sky Sports Boxing have started talking about him anyway. 4 years without fighting was the headline, but Freza Crendo's legacy will be the humanitarian work that brought Wilfred Benitez back from hurricane-ravaged Puerto Rico. Yes, Sky Sports are getting on the train talking about Frez. That can only mean one thing. Be worried, people. Frez could be in line for a shot at somebody pretty soon. Michael Gearty has nominated Bob Arum. Bob Arum was congratulating new lightweight champion Jose Pedraza. He has the style to give Lomachenko a hell of a lot of trouble. I can't wait for December in LA, says Bob. Yeah, I'm sure you can't wait, Bob. The only thing he's going to give Lomachenko a bit of trouble is if he comes in with an axe, I think. I think he might last the distance with Lomachenko, though. Head over heels, says Sky Sports Boxing. Vasyl Lomachenko voted the pound-for-pound number one by you. David Bancroft jumped in. Never heard of him, says David. Hamed nominated David for never hearing of the great man. Giancarlo has nominated the whole interview with Tundi, Anthony Yard's trainer. The whole interview has to be Bellew of the Week worthy. Anthony Yard is the hardest puncher in boxing, says Tundi Ajayi. The trainer tells Boxing Social he believes Anthony Yard is the sport's premier power puncher. He's better than Boatsi, Chukwu. I'm only joking. Pucking Frick has nominated Eddie Hearn, talking about Lewis Ritson. You're the Geordie Golovkin, says Eddie, who was away with his little jumper on this week. Andy, doing a bit of fishing with the darts crowd or something was going on there.
Yeah, what was that shit all about?
I don't know. I subscribed to IFL, even though I don't really watch many of the videos, to be honest. It kept coming up about beef and Dillian White fishing with Eddie, and I was like, what the hell is going on here?
He's talking about his boy, and I know you're. I don't know, mate. It's just like it's obviously just there to drum up bullshit interest in that. It's just AIDS. It's just all we can say. It's just that.
Stay to him with that jumper, by the way. It was a Gucci jumper. He was trying to be the Gucci fly look, but it didn't. He looked like he was in fucking Grange Hill with that jumper on it.
I hate the Ernie. It just goes to show you.
Oh, you should have told me you were going to come off with that line, Rob. I would have
had Roland Browning and the boys.
He could have got in with your man who does the announcing for Frank Warren, Mark Burdiss, wasn't he in Grange Hill at one point or something?
Oh my god! he just personifies that private schoolboy MJ. That's when you meet like people like Shep and that. I know you still listen to this, Paul, but I bet he dresses like Eddie Hearn. You just fucking know it. Fucking Tory boys.
Oh dear, yes. Go over to IFL if you want to see more of that. Craig Mastro has nominated Christopher Neal. Just seeing Kugan Cassius has liked one of my tweets. Says Chris, my life is complete. #legend. I also liked one of his tweets, but he didn't give me the same sort of courtesy. Obviously, my likes have no value, Andy.
Yeah, mate.
Pretty much. Tony Bellew, we'll have a bit of Tony on this pod. David has nominated Spagel77. Says Tony has the best left hook since Mike McCallum. We'll leave that one right there, everybody. Joseph Laws says the Bomber and the Rhino. That's Dave White and Tony Bellew, two of my favourite boxing characters. David White must keep a pair of footy socks down his pants 24/7. Either that or he got a bit excited after seeing me. And then he put a picture of him grabbing David's bits. And he seemed like he was getting a bit aroused. Not quite sure what's going on over Twitter. I think we'll leave that one there. Lee has nominated Christopher Neal as well for the Kugan Cassius comment. Porky's Corner, Russ has nominated Rob G for putting up a Deontay Wilder Duck Squad meme. Danny Cassius O'Connor was talking about the Canelo Triple G rematch. For me, Triple G has been beaten once before by Jacobs. Brook was on his way too to doing the business, but the eye went. Canelo will beat him this time around and shatter that aura of invincibility. He knows to stay away from Billy Joe Saunders or he'll be kissing that zero goodbye 100%. I always love that comment, Andy, when people say, oh, so-and-so was on the way to beating him. Brook was on the way to beating him. Yeah, but it was ended after about 5 rounds. If you get to the 12th round, I can understand, but people getting knocked out like early on, he was on the way to beating him,
I just didn't see how... We're talking about Brook Golovkin here, eh?
Yep.
I just didn't see where people actually think in any way, shape or form that Golovkin was losing that fight. He was wild with his shots and stuff like that, but I never really kind of looked at that fight. I never really kind of felt, okay, wild as fuck. It doesn't look good, but at no point did I think he was going to lose that fight.
No, someone in the chat was talking there about Bacoli and Hunter. That's not till the 13th of October. So yeah, it's a very good fight. We will be discussing it in due course, everybody. Don't worry. Also, the Okoli asking fight. Again, someone mentioned that in the chat. We will be discussing it in due course. Maybe a week where we've got a bit of a lull. Not this week, obviously. We managed to fill the time, but we will be talking about it, definitely previewing it the week before, if not before that. Floyd Mayweather has been nominated by Mark Payman. WCW, says Floyd, whoop Connor Wednesday. Everybody following me, repost this, come up with your own hashtags and captions, etc. Joe O'Neill, friend of the pod, over at Irish Boxing, has nominated Oscar De La Hoya. It's amazing in just 15 fights, Ryan Garcia outsells any fighter other than Canelo, says Oscar. Simon Wells nominated Shawnee Two Socks Brannigan. Step into the ring, AJ. Stay focused. You're up there with the legends in my eyes. You're a champ out of the ring as well, giving people the opportunity to blossom in university. A winner in every way, says Shawnee. Sounds like the Doctor. Overwhelming feedback there, by the way, Andy, for the Doctor last week. Joseph Ajao. The people seem to enjoy his contribution.
That's good to know, mate. I thought it was good value. Yep, definitely. Good to
Love
know.
ourselves a bit of the doctor. Kane Clark has nominated Billy Joe Saunders. Delivery #new wipe says Billy Joe Saunders. And then he put up a picture of this big fancy car. Not really a car aficionado myself. I don't know. Maybe it's a Porsche or something of the Rolls Royce. I don't know. Couldn't tell you. Philip has nominated Elijah King Inuotu. Inuotu says, it's Boxing Boy, sorry, who's nominated this gentleman. Mr. Inuotu says, so you think about AJ, but you know no present heavyweight has the physical and mental power to stop AJ. Ask Fury and Wilder why they are running after each other when they could go after the man who has the key to any heavyweight unification. Okay, Babs was talking about things, and Jerry Maguire jumped in. This is a personal bugbear of mine at the moment. Jerry Maguire talking about the Wilder-Joshua fight. What does he say? No contract, no proof of funds, therefore nothing turned down, Squire. Regarding pushing boundaries, how about the fact he's manning up and fighting a former heavyweight champ?
I can bear
top
that.
3. Blah, blah, blah. Why are they going on about proof of funds, Andy?
Well, listen, I was just going to put up Eddie Hearn there because he's just been caught on camera admitting that the $50 million offer was actually legitimate. And he actually says next year we maybe be looking at the offers of $50 million and thinking, thank God we didn't take that. Listen to Eddie Hearn just say that.
There you go.
Comfortably for me at the moment. And again, it makes a massive fight for next year. And I believe that next year we may be looking at the offers of 50 million and going, thank God we didn't take.
You lying bastard. Eh?
Shut down Benson. Just see you on Twitter there. Play the vid. I've already played the vid, dude. It's already been played, I'm afraid. I played it about 20 minutes into the show, so you'll have to rewind us and play it to them. Right, Fazal Barley has nominated. He's been nominated by Michal. Fazal says, "Give me a shout when tickets go on sale, Eddie Hearn. There's nothing better than a Matchroom show. Better than that Poxy Box Nation." Poxy Box Nation. It's got a bit of ring to it, hasn't it? Pox Nation. They should change the name to Small Pox Nation. Anyway, sorry. Let's move on. Anthony Joshua has been nominated by Porky's Corner. Inaya says Anthony Joshua is fighting on my sister's birthday. I think you'll find your sister's birthday is on my fight night, says AJ. That's all I've got, Andy. Any front runners for you? Suleiman maybe with the Tiger and the WBC belt. Maybe Bob Arum. I like Bob Arum's fight as well. Or Hearn calling Lewis Ritson the Geordie Golovkin. What's a front runner for you?
Geordie Golovkin. I remember he actually called Anthony Fowler the mini Froch. Oh, he loves his fucking quirks and that. I've not really keep an eye out for comments, but obviously that Eddie Hearn comment about the $50 million finally being real. No, I've not really kind of seen anything else. But what was the Bob Arum one again?
He was talking about Pedraza in relation to the Lomachenko fight. He said he thinks that Pedraza has the style to give Lomachenko a lot of hell.
No, definitely no. I'll go with Bob Arum for that one. Actually, that's fucking good.
Any nominations, Ozzy? If not, who are you going for? Ozzy?
Yeah, sorry. Well, I want to nominate the WBA actually for ranking Conor Benn above above Josh Kelly, sorry, and putting Conor Benn in the top 10 welterweights in the world. But whilst I don't think they'll win,
I would like change my vote, Steve, and go with that one as well.
Yeah, in fact, no, I am going to go with that. It's an insult to a hell of a lot of welterweights in the world for a start, and then to rank him above Josh Kelly, whilst I don't think he's by no means a top 10 welterweight at all. He's fucking levels above Conor Benn.
That's the WBA, Ozzy?
Yes, the good old WBA.
Well, you know what? They've got good form then, haven't they? Because we spoke earlier about the Joe Fournier, Buatsi situation. Right, I'm going to go with you guys then. I think I'm going to... It looks like it's going to be the WBA, Rob. It's been a while, but we always like getting them involved.
Yeah, no, that's terrific. Because, conceivably, Conor Benn could have another 4 fights next year, right? Or another 6 fights between now and the end of next year. And that could then conceivably put him at number 5 in the rankings. Where he's alive for a shot at the world title by the end of next year, Conor Benn. You know what I mean? So it's absolutely preposterous. And like I say, they could get the guy hard. But I've no doubt that that's the way they're going.
And the thing is,
he's paying these sanctioning fees.
He's undefeated. This is the thing. You know, he should have lost that. He should have lost that first fight against Cedric Pena. And I don't know. I mean, Ozzy, what number is it again?
10. So, like I said, they could actually put forward now. They could put forward an eliminator between Amir Khan, who's at 5, and Conor Benn at 10 for the world title. Says it all.
Shocking.
Is that Josito Lopez? He's still involved? He's still ranked with WBA? Is that right?
Him? Is he still? Oh, God, I thought he'd retired ages ago.
Jesus
Matisse,
Christ.
I mean, Matisse has retired, hasn't he? I wonder if I'm maybe looking at the old rankings here, but because I've still got Matisse ranked in the top 10 here.
And at heavyweight, they sanctioned Trevor Bryan against BJ Flores.
Oh, aye. That was the world's worst.
They've got 2 champions at cruiserweight.
Kendo's still waiting for his shot, is he not?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, Shumanov as well is a cruiserweight champion.
Well done, mate.
I'm going down the rankings here. I mean, it's just bonkers.
You've got Thurman and Pacquiao holding titles, I think, at the same weight. You've got
Groves and Fielding at super middleweight. You've got Golovkin and Murata at middleweight. You've got Hurd and Castano at super welterweight. You've got they've only got one champion at super lightweight. They're missing a trick there. They need to get that. You've got Davis and Machado at super feather. You've got Santa Cruz and Rojas at featherweight. Plus Tapora holds an interim or something as well. I could go on. I won't.
You've got Burnett Inoue. You've got Butler Canizales at light flyweight as well. I mean, come on. As you say, mate, you've got Joshua and Char. Manny fucking Char. Fuck.
Right, Andy, let's get out of here before we give you an aneurysm, shall we?
Yeah, please.
Congratulations, WBA. Also, thanks to everybody who's joined us tonight. Andy Patterson, Ozzy Smith, Rob Kelly. We had Smido on as well earlier, dropping knowledge bombs. Hamed was with us as well, and Lewis Calvert. Go over to Big Right Hook. Enter the code Nuthouse and you'll get 20% off their magazine. Good luck to them. Anybody else was on tonight? I don't think there was. No Yanks. What's happened to all the Yanks, Andy? What's happening?
Donny's in hospital, as we know. Dave, the hater, is babysitting, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Matty's probably back on the bong, and Gabe Lewis has got a clan meeting.
He hates it when you say that.
Yeah, I know, it's great. I fucking love that.
It's a militia meeting, Andy.
Oh, by the way, can I also say as well as Donny's actually gives an invite to all the guys and that for his wedding next year in Massachusetts. So I think we should get the boys over, get a few of the Irish lads and that. Into Massachusetts, into Boston, and that, rip it up a wee bit.
Try to get a show going over there. They love me over there, man. I'm like Jay-Z over in Boston. I'm really so good. But I played over there before, right? Cracking, it's a great spot. And we should go and have a whip round for Donny before she eventually leaves him and takes half all his money. So.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. But Donny being a lawyer and that, he's probably going to suit that up. But I think we need to get Crowded House involved as well, mate.
Yeah, definitely. Let's get it popping. That's your Patreon subscribers. If you want to hear us do a podcast, post Donny's wedding. It will be the best money ever spent.
That'll be epic, won't it? I'll go. I'm going to go. I'm putting it on record here. I'm going to go to Donny's wedding if he invites me. Or, well, even if he doesn't, I'm still going to go.
Daily updates. We'll do a daily podcast. We'll interview somebody. We'll interview Donny. We'll get Donny's dad, the judge. We'll speak to him about Golovkin against Canelo.
Mickey Ward. We'll get Mickey Ward.
We'll get Mickey Ward.
Let's get the brother.
Oh, yeah. We'll go down to Petronelli's gym, even though it's been knocked down. Yeah, this is great. I'm liking this.
Get on
Patreon. Get on that.
Are we still on air? I think we are. Right.
Get on the meth with Dickie Eklund, though.
That's a brilliant scene in the movie where the boy says to him, "You didn't knock down Sugar Ray, he slipped."
Thanks, everybody. We'll speak to you next week. All the best. Bye.